Chapter 201. Oh, there's an empty seat there. Why isn't anyone sitting in it? As Shen Xingyan squeezed through the crowd, a classmate who had been facing away turned around, saw the vacant seat, and innocently asked his question. However, his answer was the strange glances from everyone around him. And Han Ningxuang also looked over because of this somewhat hurtful question, a scene that made the classmate close his mouth in surprise. At the same time, he saw Han Ningxuang's gaze as she turned around, and his youthful face immediately flushed. After seeing her appearance and temperament, he also understood why no one was sitting in that seat, and why that area itself had so few people. Excellent people are always lonely. What kind of person would have the confidence to think they could sit beside such a woman? Such an appearance would probably make all the female students feel jealous. Meanwhile, Shen Xingyan, already hidden in the crowd, pretended that this matter had nothing to do with him, looking around. Han Ningxuang, who turned her head to check the situation, naturally saw Shen Xingyan's reaction. While feeling a burst of annoyance, she gave him a deep look, and the anger on her face flashed away before she quietly sat back down. However, if someone familiar with her were present, they would notice that her already cool demeanor had become even more intense at this moment. More than an hour later, on the other side, Assassin No. 4, which was being heavily monitored, instantly vanished without a trace as its 2-hour existence time came to an end. This left the teachers who had been observing it feeling incredibly surprised. What's going on? How did this student suddenly disappear? The school teachers guarding nearby were discussing the disaster, but suddenly seeing this situation, they were so shocked they couldn't close their mouths. Reacting quickly, they immediately reported the matter. The chief swordsman in charge of the rear guard, at the tail end of the convoy, received this news. His brows furrowed into a frown, and he thought to himself, sure enough, there's something fishy about this student. He then went directly to the scene to investigate the situation, and the facts before him were just as the report stated. The student had left no trace whatsoever. After briefly sensing the surrounding Kai and finding no clues, the chief swordsman pondered for a moment and then asked, "Who saw the token? This student used to enter and exit the safety zone formation." The others present were momentarily speechless upon hearing this question, and one of them slowly replied. The situation was quite urgent at the time, so we didn't pay attention to that information. The chief swordsman shook his head slightly upon hearing this and instructed, when we get to the school, collect each student's token. Pay close attention to those students who don't have their tokens. After giving these instructions, his figure instantly vanished from the spot. At the same time, he felt somewhat confused by the senior's method of reporting the news, and the entire incident seemed a bit off. However, based on the outcome, he deduced that the other party must harbor good intentions towards them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have forewarned them about the disaster attack, allowing them to prepare. It would be best if they could find and thank them, but it wouldn't be a problem if they couldn't. Meanwhile, as the clone's consciousness returned, Shen Xingyan, who was immersed in watching the scenery outside the carriage, paused slightly, quickly absorbing the wisp of consciousness into his mind. After checking the information brought back by the clone, he found no unexpected situations where he might have been exposed. So he didn't dwell on it and continued to enjoy his surroundings. Just like that, several hours passed, and they successfully entered the base. Seeing this, Shen Xingyan's mind stirred, and he instructed Assassin No. 4 to break away from the disaster army and hunt low-attribute disasters on its own, to avoid being accidentally harmed by his own side in this battle. At the same time, Shen Xingyan clearly felt all the classmates in the carriage let out a heavy sigh of relief. For them, experiencing such an event on their first trip to the extraterritorial world left a unique taste in their mouths. Finally back. From now on, I'll just stay honestly in the base, earn more money in the Star Origin world, and strengthening my own power is the most important thing. Indeed, we are still too weak against disasters. In the future, when we have the power of advanced professionals, if we encounter such a situation again, we can directly sweep through it. After entering the base, the students' moods began to lighten, and their conversations became more frequent. Among them were not a few people with a hindsight trait, discussing how things should have been done. Of course, there was also a youthful spirit, wanting to show off in front of Han Ningxuang. But Shen Xingyan didn't say much, merely acting as an extra and the best listener, attentively listening. The vehicle finally stopped at the school in the North District. By this time, the school teachers were also aware of the special circumstances that had occurred, and they were all relieved that the students had returned safely. As the vehicle slowly came to a halt, the people inside gradually disembarked. At this moment, the teacher guiding at the car door loudly announced, "Students, please hand in your tokens one by one for registration, and then proceed to the school plaza for assembly." Shen Xingyan, waiting in the back to get off, breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing this reminder, thinking to himself, "Good thing I prepared in advance. Otherwise, even if I lied about accidentally losing my token, I would still become a key person of interest." Stepping onto this familiar ground, Shen Xingyan felt a little dazed. Although only 5 days had passed, his mindset had undergone a significant change. Previously, he only knew to quietly accumulate power, but he had never thought about how to deal with the disasters lurking around. However, this time, his exploration of the clone technique had inadvertently led him to a new path, and this was his greatest gain from this experience. Thinking that his clone had already begun contributing its share of power in the outside world, his heart felt more at ease. As someone who knows how to repay kindness, having been helped by the base for so many years, he always felt greatly indebted to it. Now that he could repay, it made him feel very pleased. After getting off the car, Chu Wai was already waiting below, and the two, feeling relaxed, walked towards the plaza, chatting and laughing. Han Ningxuang, who had finished her registration behind them, seemed to understand something when she saw the two. A pair of childhood sweethearts, and was no longer particularly annoyed by Shen Xingyan's earlier actions. She smiled faintly and then followed the crowd into the distance. Chapter 202. On the school plaza, the school leaders, who had been shocked by the sudden turn of events, had now gathered to prepare for the upcoming procedures. Although the trial ended much earlier than they expected, the necessary procedures still had to be followed, which served as a formal conclusion for this batch of students. Once everyone was assembled, the school leader began his speech. "Students, after this incident, I believe everyone has personally experienced the harsh environment we are currently in, as well as the situation where your lives could be lost at any moment. You have also gained your own understanding of your mission. However, I also hope that, after this unforgettable experience, you will strive even harder to improve your own strength and contribute to the border defense construction of the base. And the base will naturally not mistreat you. For every disaster killed, you can use specific parts to go to the battle merit exchange and convert them into your battle merits. As long as you accumulate enough battle merits, money, treasures, equipment, and precious privileges, etc., can all be exchanged. Just like this trial, the higher your points, the greater your rewards." At this point, the school leader paused, then picked up the list of point rewards handed to him by a staff member, and continued. "Although our trial ended very hastily this time, we still need to commend the students who performed exceptionally well in this trial. Below, I will announce the list of rewards for this time. 10th place, Central District." When the school leader said this, in the Central District gathering area, the students from the Central District couldn't help but straighten their backs, looking at the students from the North District with faces full of pride. They had not forgotten the conflict that broke out in the extraterritorial world earlier. At this moment, due to the differences in resources and strength, they were full of confidence in this outcome, believing that the rewards this time would definitely all be obtained by their Central District. However, what happened next gave their confidence a small blow. After the school leader announced the 7 students who ranked from 10th to 4th in points, all of whom were without exception from the Central District. The students from the Central District erupted in a burst of enthusiastic applause and cheers. In contrast, the students from the North District were silent. As the school leader of the North District School, This result made him lose a bit of face. But he still had these 7 students come to the stage together and gave each of them a monetary reward of 1 gold coin. Then he began to announce the reward list for the top few. 3rd place, Liu Yu's from the Central District, rewarded with 1 blood ginseng medicinal pill. As soon as these words came out, everyone was in an uproar. Blood ginseng medicinal pill? Is that the medicinal pill that grants a permanent physique boost after consumption? The school is really generous this time. They even brought out something like this. Too bad it benefits the people from the Central District. A wave of discussion spread through the crowd. As the award winner, Liu Yu's, however, did not show much of a smile when he heard his ranking. It was simply because this ranking was a bit too low for him. In his opinion, with Han Ningxuang's presence, if he couldn't get first, he should at least get second. How could it be 3rd place? This made him feel a bit annoyed. However, he wasn't foolish enough to lose his temper on the spot. After all, his public image was one of humility and courtesy. He adjusted his mood, allowing himself to smile as he received this useless reward. He had already reached the limit for consuming such items, and further consumption would not provide any attribute enhancement. Next, we announce the 2nd place winner, Chu Wai from our North District, rewarded with 5 blood ginseng medicinal pills. When this name was read, the school leader's face finally brightened. Seeing the excited girl running over, he also said a few more warm words. Chu Wai's 2nd place finish prevented their North District from losing face completely, although he also knew that Chu Wai's 2nd place achievement was largely coincidental. If she hadn't unexpectedly acquired a rare spiritual item like the spirit mushroom and had all the points attributed to her, it would have been impossible for her points to reach this position. But who can say that luck is not part of strength? Meanwhile, the students from the North District below the stage, upon hearing that one of their own had finally made it onto the list, immediately erupted in thunderous cheers. They looked at the group of students from the Central District with a sense of triumph, while the students from the Central District, in contrast, became somewhat silent. At this moment, when Liu Yu saw that his 2nd place ranking had actually been taken by this beautiful and lovely young girl, he felt much better. If it had been anyone else, he would not have so easily suffered a loss. And Han Ningxuang, below the stage, was also a little surprised after seeing Chu Wai win the award. She then looked at Shen Xingyan not far away, analyzed him with a bit of gossip, and then shook her head slightly. The 1st place, Han Ningxuang from the Central District, is rewarded with 1 heaven-earth medicinal pill that can enhance all attributes. When he said this, the school leader's voice was noticeably louder. After all, such a medicinal pill would absolutely not have appeared in this reward if it weren't for the participation of the Central District personnel. Indeed, everyone present let out a grand gasp of astonishment at the appearance of the heaven-earth medicinal pill. Medicinal pills of this type, which can enhance attributes, improve attributes based on the user's potential. In other words, the earlier such an item is consumed, while one's potential is abundant, the better its effect will be. And now, they had all just undergone their awakening not long ago, which was the perfect time to consume this kind of medicinal pill. Seeing such a medicinal pill appear at this moment, how could they not be tempted? As the school leader announced, Han Ningxuang calmly and gracefully walked onto the stage. Standing on the stage at this moment, with her strength and beauty, she captivated everyone below the stage, and discussions began to ripple through the crowd. Shen Xingyan also glanced at her, thinking with some surprise, so she is Han Ningxuang. It seems that beneath her beautiful appearance, her professional skill must also be top-notch. After a slight sigh in his heart, he also withdrew his gaze and began to congratulate Chu Wai, who was returning with a cheerful smile. Not bad. You actually managed to squeeze into 2nd place among these people from the Central District. Excellent. Chu Wai responded without false modesty. Just so, it was just good luck. I've always had good luck. Then, beaming with joy, she was about to give Shen Xingyan one of the blood ginseng medicinal pills, but Shen Xingyan stopped her with a resolute look. After all, the speed at which he was improving his attributes now was incomparable to these medicinal pills. Furthermore, there were exactly 5, one for each member of their small team, and he couldn't let Chu Wai be too troubled. Chapter 203. After Chu Wai saw Shen Xingyan's rejecting gaze, she, who deeply understood his character, knew that she couldn't give him the item. She could only pout a little unhappily, then helplessly gave up the idea. On the stage, after Han Ningxuang finished presenting the awards, this pre-graduation awards ceremony officially concluded. The school leader began his final speech. "Students, I wish you all rapid improvement in your strength, and I also hope that you can safely pass every day and night in the future. You are our future hope. Do not participate in battles in the extraterritorial world too early. Remember, as long as you are alive, there is hope." The school leader's speech ended amidst the thunderous applause of all the students, also signaling that they had officially concluded their school life and were now facing this cruel, real world. With all matters here completed, the airship to pick up the Central District personnel had already docked. The Central District's team leader smiled, only after confirming that all his students were fine. After politely bidding farewell to the North District school leader, he led the Central District group onto the airship and departed. The North District students also slowly left this place they had been familiar with for over a decade, amidst various scenes of mutual farewell. The next time they returned, they would likely be in the role of parents. "Shen Xingyan, we've only graduated, we haven't broken off our friendship. I'll still come looking for you, whether I have something to do or not. Your combat professionist rank should be rank 4 or 5 by now. After some time, when my rank is higher, I can take you to the wilderness to fight monsters above your rank. With the bonus from life professional experience, your experience will increase faster." Before parting, Chu Wai looked full of reluctance, while also ceaselessly planning for the future. Although Shen Xingyan also felt some reluctance in his heart, he merely stared at her with a smile, as if wanting to engrave this moment forever in his mind. Listening to her words, he didn't refute, as having a beautiful plan for their future was also a happy thing. Afterward, the two agreed to keep in frequent contact, then reluctantly bid farewell and walked their separate ways. Shen Xingyan watched Chu Wai's departing back, and in a daze, he saw the cheerful little girl who had just become his deskmate. It was as if in the blink of an eye, they had both grown up. This sigh over the passage of time made him feel very complex. He then shook his head, temporarily suppressing these thoughts, and walked towards home. Not long after returning home, Shen Xingyan felt a sense of relief, seeing that everything in the house was as it had been during the 5 days he was away. He briefly tidied his luggage. Seeing that it was almost noon, feeling a bit hungry, he went to the kitchen and quickly prepared some warm food. After eating, he went straight to the basement without any delay and began to train his power of equilibrium. Because of his morning return journey, he had missed a lot of training time. At this moment, he felt it was necessary to catch up on his progress and also allow time to digest the lingering emotions of parting. Thus, immersed in the power of equilibrium training, he quickly spent over 3 hours, and his skill progress reached 22.7%. Seeing that the comprehension skill had cooled down, he drank a bottle of primordial energy recovery potion, then unhesitatingly activated it. With a comprehension ability of 20, he began to gain insight into the power of equilibrium. Almost in the blink of an eye, 1 hour of insight time was over. At this time, Shen Xingyan, whose comprehension ability had returned to normal, emerged from his insight state. He took out his star origin card and opened his attribute panel to check, finding that the power of equilibrium progress was already 27.1%. After a quick calculation, he shook his head slightly and said, "It's still nearly 13% short of 40%. It seems reaching 40% today is a bit uncertain. I can only do my best." Shen Xingyan encouraged himself in his heart, then he summoned Assassin No. 12 clone. He had it run to an uninhabited area on the northern border at the size of an ant. Casually transform into the appearance of a combat professionist, and swagger towards the entrance to the extraterritorial world. However, when he reached the entrance guard, he was suddenly stopped. This startled Shen Xingyan, who observed this phenomenon through the clone's perspective, and he thought, did the formation at the border detect the special nature of my clone? As he was thinking this, he heard the guard say, "Hello, a disaster riot phenomenon is about to occur in the extraterritorial world. The base advises against going out during this period to avoid danger." The guard had said such words many times, and the result was always the same. Those who wanted to go out would immediately return upon hearing these words, having no intention of fighting the disaster. But the clone said indifferently, "It's fine, I'm going out to kill disasters. It's convenient that they're coming to me, it saves me the trouble of finding them." The originally somewhat inattentive guard's eyes lit up upon hearing the words of the burly man transformed by the clone. As border guards, what they admired most were such spirited men. Then, he friendly opened the barrier, allowing the clone to successfully walk out. Shen Xingyan felt much relieved seeing the clone successfully leave the border. He then stopped paying attention to the clone's situation, allowing the clone, which possessed its own consciousness, to independently judge and hunt disasters. As the main body, he continued to train his power of equilibrium without stopping until his younger sister, Shen Xingyan, returned from school after 6 in the evening, at which point he stopped training. After today's insight training, my hourly training improvement reached 1% as expected. Although there was some delay today, at this growth rate, it's possible to raise power of equilibrium to rank 11 within 5 days. Shen Xingyan thought silently as he saw the skill progress had reached 29%. He then went downstairs and excitedly recounted his experiences to his younger sister. Shen Xingyan, seeing her brother return safely, couldn't stop smiling. After quietly listening to her brother's recent encounters, she also gained a general impression of the disasters in the extraterritorial world. During dinner, Shen Xingyan talked about how amazing she had been during the few days her brother was away. The proud expression on her small face made Shen Xingyan find her adorable, and he also praised her a lot. Afterward, he returned to his room, connected his consciousness to his star origin card, and entered the star origin world. Chapter 204. Within Shen Xingyan's profession space in star origin world, Shen Xingyan, whose consciousness had just arrived, felt much more at ease as his main body had already returned to the extremely safe base. Along with that, the scenery of the surrounding profession space also felt more comfortable to him now. It's still most comfortable staying in the base, no need to be on edge like outside. As Shen Xingyan softly sighed, his mind stirred, and he began to chant softly, activating his innate skill. With the completion of the chant, today's 7 little skeletons were summoned before him. And his skeleton legion officially broke through the 100-member mark, reaching the 100-person legion he had envisioned earlier. Moreover, it formed a structure with Wang Kai at the head, commanding the 100 skeletons below. Seeing that the current stage's goal had been achieved, Shen Xingyan did not hide his joy and happily called Wang Kai to his side. Asking with a celebratory tone, "Wang Kai, our little skeleton army has now reached 100, which is quite a scale. It can truly be called a genuine 100-person team. I now officially appoint you as the leader of this 100-person team. From now on, I'll have to call you Commander Wang Kai. Are you happy?" As Shen Xingyan spoke, he opened Wang Kai's attribute panel and added Commander after Wang Kai in the name attribute column. With the successful name change, Wang Kai officially became Wang Kai Commander. And after Wang Kai understood his master's words and clearly felt the change in his title, his entire skeleton spirit seemed to have undergone a baptism, and his entire consciousness seemed to become particularly active. At this moment, he was extremely excited and began to constantly open and close his skeleton mouth, as if he had something to say. But he did not make any sound, which made him anxious. He used his hand bones to scratch his skeleton mouth, looking as if he wanted to force himself to speak. Shen Xingyan, who was observing Wang Kai's behavior, suddenly had his eyes light up, and he thought with some surprise, "Is Wang Kai trying to learn to speak? A skeleton speaking. This is simply incredible. Has his consciousness developed so quickly now?" With a mix of surprise and speculation in his heart, he quickly squatted down and carefully observed Wang Kai. And as he observed, he successfully captured the faint blue glow in Wang Kai's eyes, which was caused by excitement. Upon discovering this highlight, Shen Xingyan's face was instantly filled with a look of pleasant surprise. It seems Wang Kai's consciousness has indeed grown stronger. This glow should be the fluctuation of skeleton consciousness. How magical! Shen Xingyan guessed with a joyful expression, barely able to close his mouth, although Wang Kai appears the same as other little skeletons on the attribute panel. His various behaviors have fully proven that Wang Kai, this skeleton leader, has some essential differences from other skeletons. As Shen Xingyan thought this, his eyes were fixed on Wang Kai, wanting to know what kind of surprise he would give him next. However, under Shen Xingyan's surprised gaze, Wang Kai, after fiddling for a long time, still did not produce the sound they both hoped for. Only the emotions transmitted through the conscious link became much clearer. Shen Xingyan was not too disappointed by this. After all, today's discovery was enough to make him happy. Moreover, he also vaguely felt that as his innate skills increased in the future, Wang Kai would also experience a certain degree of growth. Wang Kai, don't be impatient. We still have a long way to go. Not being able to speak now doesn't mean you won't be able to speak in the future. Don't worry, I'll help you. Shen Xingyan gently patted Wang Kai while comforting him with a smile. After being comforted, Wang Kai also stopped his somewhat anxious actions. Looking up at his master with his little skeleton head, gently shaking his small head, conveying emotions full of trust. Then Shen Xingyan called Lai Fu and Lai Kaiyan over and gave them definite titles, changing their names to Lai Fu Captain and Lai Kaiyan Captain respectively. Looking at the one commander and two captains before him, Shen Xingyan shook his head slightly, always feeling something was missing. 100-person skeleton army with only 3 management levels seemed a bit too few in his opinion. He then said to Wang Kai with some uncertainty, "Wang Kai, you only have 2 captains, Lai Fu and Lai Kaiyan, to help you manage your subordinates. Can they handle so many skeletons? If not, I'll appoint a few more vice-captains to share the burden." Originally, Shen Xingyan only asked tentatively, but he didn't expect Wang Kai to nod heavily. Then, with a slight twist of his skeleton head, 4 little skeletons who were working in the farmland put down their farmland work and quickly came to Shen Xingyan's side. At this time, the skeletons, whose full attributes had reached 7 points, also had extremely fast movement speeds when running at full strength. Shen Xingyan saw these 4 little skeletons, whose physiques were not much different from Wang Kai's, and knew that they were all among the first batch of skeletons to follow him. Seeing this, he thought for a moment and decided on the names of these 4 vice-captains: Lai Yun, Lai Yuan, Lai Jin, and Lai Yin. After finalizing these 4 names, Shen Xingyan opened their attribute panels individually, named them, and directly added the title Vice-Captain after their names. And after he completed the name changes, the 4 originally somewhat muddled little skeletons seemed to have a small flame planted in their minds, instantly lighting up their somewhat muddled consciousness. Perceiving this situation, they all raised their skeleton heads and looked at their master. Lai Yun and Lai Yuan, you 2 follow Captain Lai Fu. Lai Jin and Lai Yin, you 2 follow Captain Lai Kaiyan. You must assist the captains and commander well in their work, and together, manage our profession space well. Shen Xingyan said solemnly, and at the same time, he used a commanding tone, utilizing the restriction of his innate skill to make them firmly remember this instruction, so that future work could proceed smoothly. After finishing the matters here, Shen Xingyan moved to the ranch, preparing to cast his second professional skill. Looking at the 10 calves in front of him, Shen Xingyan let out a soft breath, then took out his growing staff. Sighing softly, "My professional skill has failed twice consecutively on these calves. I wonder if this time I'll face a 3rd consecutive failure, or a successful mutation. Chapter 205. Shen Xingyan put aside his conjectures, slowly raised his Chu Yuan staff, and silently activated his second professional skill. As the skill was activated, the 10 points of primordial energy within him instantly began to surge and transform wildly. This situation lasted only for an instant, and the transformed primordial energy was then applied to the calves before him through the Chu Yuan staff. Feeling the arrival of the primordial energy, they, as before, let out excited mooing sounds, as if they greatly enjoyed this baptism of primordial energy. Seeing their reaction, Shen Xingyan was not overly optimistic. After all, both previous times he cast the skill, they reacted the same way, which made it impossible for him to judge whether his skill would be successfully cast based on the calves' behavior. All he could do now was to wait and see how things would develop, or wait for the skill prompt to arrive, before he could determine the final outcome of this attempt. However, as Shen Xingyan was thinking this, the calves returned to their usual calm, no longer mooing excitedly as before. Seeing this phenomenon, Shen Xingyan also felt a bad premonition. This was because the previous 2 skill failures had also presented the same scene. For 3 consecutive days, this scene seemed like a copy-paste, making Shen Xingyan, who had plenty of failure experience, shake his head slightly. It seems today will be a 3-game losing streak. I really didn't expect that someone with 6 points of luck could have a 3-game losing streak in this situation. The probabilities in Star Origin World are truly unbelievable. Shen Xingyan thought with a sigh, then prepared to leave this sad place that had caused him frustration and return to his smooth-sailing ranch. However, at this moment, a Star Origin skill prompt appeared before him. Congratulations, you have successfully used a professional skill. Farmer experience +1. Seeing the prompt for successful skill use, Shen Xingyan was slightly stunned, standing there blankly for a moment, then his expression changed from surprise to astonishment. Realizing what had happened, he chuckled softly and said, I really didn't expect that facing the same phenomenon, I actually succeeded this time. It's truly surprising. It seems the ranch is different from the farmer. One cannot judge the outcome based on the target's displayed phenomenon. One must wait for the final confirmation from the prompt. As Shen Xingyan compared and understood the differences, the calves before him were rapidly undergoing changes. Their body size, after the prompt for successful skill use appeared, not only did not rapidly grow larger like the previous chicks, but instead became even smaller. Slowly, not only did the size gained from feeding over the past 2 days revert, but they even became much smaller than when they were first bought from the Star Origin Mall. Seeing this scene, question marks arose in Shen Xingyan's mind, and he couldn't help but secretly wonder. Mutations certainly occurred, but it seems to be a negative mutation. After all, my skill only said it would cause mutation, but it didn't specify whether the direction of mutation would be good or bad. Since it's a mutation, there's no telling what the result might be. Looking at it this way, the previous skill failures weren't necessarily a bad thing. Shen Xingyan looked at the scene before him with a sigh, but he did not leave immediately. He wanted to see what the final form of this mutation would be. Under Shen Xingyan's gaze, the calves' mutation process lasted for nearly half a minute before ending. At this point, the calves' body size was less than half of their previous size. From a distance, they looked just like slightly larger dogs. Seeing this, Shen Xingyan sighed slightly, thinking he might be at a loss this time. He then prepared to step forward to check the attributes of these mini-calves. However, at that moment, he suddenly saw the names above the calves' heads begin to change, becoming cow baby. Upon seeing this name, Shen Xingyan was so surprised he couldn't believe his eyes. He rubbed them hard, then looked again, and after confirming it was indeed cow baby, his face revealed an expression of ecstasy. His consciousness directly landed on them, checking their attributes: pet, cow baby level, 1 experience, 0/100 strength, 8 growth 1 to 2 agility, 8 growth 1 to 2 constitution, 10 growth 2 to 4 spirit, 8 growth 1 to 1 health, 100/100 stamina. 10/10 physical attack, 8 points magic attack, 8 points defense, 10 points speed, 8 talent. None after checking their attributes and finally confirming the result, Shen Xingyan excitedly muttered to himself, "It really is a cow baby." Those two exclusive words for pet in the attribute panel can't be wrong. I'd only seen introductions about pets in data before, but I never expected that one day I could create a pet myself. You know, the value of each pet is very high. No one doesn't wish to have a companion that can help in battle. Although mine are breeding-type pets, and their attributes are relatively ordinary, they are very cost-effective pets for new professional players who have just reached level 20. While happily sighing, Shen Xingyan also opened the Star Origin Mall to check the acquisition price of cow babies. He found that the Star Origin Mall's acquisition price was as high as 3 gold coins, which was already higher than the value of his half-acre of strawberry. What was even more delightful was that this was only the acquisition price for one cow baby. Seeing this, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but look at the 10 pets in front of him, each with cow baby above their heads, and his smile instantly became exceptionally radiant. The price of one cow baby is 3 gold coins, so wouldn't my 10 be 30 gold coins? This means I can directly extract 3 points of primordial energy attributes to the real world. This is truly an unexpected surprise. I never thought that the ranch, which I had always disregarded, would treat me so generously. Shen Xingyan silently calculated his gains this time. After learning of this unprecedented gold coin harvest, his gaze towards the ranch began to change. Although he knew that this harvest was just a chance event, it did not prevent him from looking at the ranch with new respect. It's just that I can't raise more advanced animals right now. When I reach level 30, if such a mutation occurs again, the amount of money I'll get will be far more than this. Chapter 206. As Shen Xingyan felt incredibly excited, the words "ready to harvest" appeared above the little calf's head. Seeing this, Shen Xingyan didn't delay, and with a thought, harvested the 10 calves into his backpack space. Congratulations! You have harvested 10 cows this time, and gained 4,000 farmer profession experience points. Shen Xingyan was very satisfied to see that the Star Origin's harvest notification was calculated based on fully grown cows. It meant that this time he not only harvested pets worth hundreds of times more, but also received experience rewards for the calves' direct growth, experiencing double the joy. Feeling greatly pleased, Shen Xingyan looked at the 4,000 experience points rewarded in the notification. Then subconsciously turned his gaze towards the strawberry farmland on the other side. After comparing the two, he couldn't help but think to himself, both are items that can only be planted and raised at rank 20. The growth cycle of 10 cows is only 18 days, and they can yield 4,000 experience points. As for strawberries, with a 50-day growth cycle, even with my almost cheating method, I only gained around 8,000 experience points, which means it takes 25 days to reach 4,000 experience points. Although they will gain much less experience than me, they completely surpass the farmland. No wonder ranchs are so popular among other peasant professionals. Shen Xingyan sighed slightly, then opened his attribute panel and looked at the experience points bar. He saw that his experience points had already reached 23,088/30,000, and he was now only less than 7,000 experience points away from raising his profession rank to 21. This amount of experience might be time-consuming and laborious for others, but for Shen Xingyan, it could be accomplished quite easily. As long as he successfully harvested the strawberries 2 hours later, he would naturally level up. And the smoothness of it was something even combat professionist couldn't compare to. After planning his next leveling up steps, Shen Xingyan opened his backpack space, where he saw 10 calves, each occupying a grid, which instantly made his previously somewhat empty backpack much fuller. Should I keep one calf for myself? After all, I'm already rank 20 and don't have a pet yet. He looked at the pets in his backpack, among which 1 or 2 were full-growth attribute babies. But after a moment's thought, he directly gave up on this idea. Firstly, with his current leveling mode, even having a pet wouldn't be much help. If he were just a regular farmer, keeping a pet could help with labor on the farmland and relieve some pressure. However, he now had hundreds of little skeletons helping with the labor, completely negating the need for a pet's involvement. Secondly, it was because of the experience points issue. If he bound this pet, he would at minimum need to share 1/3 of his experience points with the pet, which would greatly slow down his leveling progress. He was still very much looking forward to increasing his profession rank, which not only offered generous attribute point rewards, but also increasingly advanced crops and animals. In his eyes, these were all little money waving madly at him, and all he could do was embrace them with all his might. Moreover, he also wanted to quickly raise his profession rank to 40, to use the planting privilege to see what was so extraordinary about spirit rank crops. The third, and also important point, was that the calves' attributes were still too low. According to his previous understanding, professionals could only have one bindable pet slot before rank 50. Even if he were to bind a pet, he would wait until after rank 40 when there were more options to make a decision. Having understood these points, Shen Xingyan unhesitatingly opened the Star Origin Mall and directly sold all 10 calves in his backpack space. If others knew that Shen Xingyan sold 10 pets to the Star Origin Mall for 3 gold coins each, they would surely be envious while also mocking him greatly. Because everyone knew that if they traded privately at a stall, pets were worth far more than that, and some high-growth pets could even sell for a considerable price. Although Shen Xingyan also knew that his actions were somewhat of a fire sale, he chose not to do so, as his time was very precious. He felt that with that time, he might as well return to the real world for training, which would be more practical. Furthermore, the value ceiling of the calves was set, so for him, there was no need to bother with setting up a stall for them temporarily. When the price of my future items in the Star Origin Mall is indeed much lower than privately, then I'll consider finding a professional merchant and signing a contract for sales. Shen Xingyan thought about it briefly and then temporarily put the idea aside. As the 10 calves successively disappeared from his backpack space, Shen Xingyan's money amount also reached its highest value ever, a total of 37 gold coins. Looking at his lovely wallet, Shen Xingyan merely admired it briefly, then unhesitatingly spent 30 gold coins that he had just received and hadn't even warmed up, directly extracting 3 primordial energy to the real world. After feeling the strange sensation of recovering the 3 primordial energy attributes, Shen Xingyan smiled contentedly. Then, he spent 30 silver coins in the Star Origin Mall to purchase 10 more calves and place them in the ranch. Looking at the energetic calves in front of him, Shen Xingyan gently patted them, thinking to himself, I wonder how long it will take to harvest them this time, but one thing is certain, it definitely won't take 18 days. As he thought this, a confident smile appeared on Shen Xingyan's face. After simply setting out the calves' feed, he returned directly to the farmland and looked at the little skeletons working leisurely in the farmland. Their dense numbers even made the farmland appear somewhat smaller than before. If Star Origin World doesn't reward me with more farmland, I'll have to buy it directly. With so much labor, the current amount of farmland severely limits my leveling up endeavor. Shen Xingyan sighed softly, then returned directly to the real world, preparing to train for another 2 hours or so, and then come back to harvest today's strawberries around 9 o'clock. He also felt that he needed to rest a bit. If the luck attribute could be consumed like primordial energy, then his second skill this time must have consumed a lot of luck value. For the upcoming use of his first profession skill, he felt it was very necessary to recover well. Chapter 207. Back in the real world, Shen Xingyan first opened his attribute panel to check the 3 points of primordial energy limit he had extracted. Seeing that his primordial energy attribute had become 27/27, he smiled with satisfaction. Increasing so much primordial energy at once will be a huge boost for my upcoming power of balance training. Based on previous calculations, 3 points of primordial energy limit can allow the power of balance after an hour of insight, to increase again, from the original 0.1% boost to 0. 13%, an increase of as much as 30%. After using the comprehension skill tomorrow, my progress of 1% per hour will also become 1. 13%, and the rate of future increases will become faster and faster. Thinking that his progress would increase much faster due to the increase in primordial energy, Shen Xingyan became even more confident in his goal of raising the power of balance to level 11 within 5 days. He then went to the basement and continued to train the power of balance. Shen Xingyan, who was training her physique there, felt infected by her brother's immediate dedication to training as soon as he returned. Looking at her brother's movements, which seemed chaotic yet naturally formed, she couldn't help but feel a surge of doubt. Did Big Brother learn some new body-forging method from someone in the extraterritorial world? It looks pretty good. Shen Xingyan admired it for a moment, then continued with her own training. However, she didn't know that the movements Shen Xingyan was currently performing were those of the power of balance, whose essence she could never grasp, no matter how hard she tried to learn it before. It was just that after multiple uses of the comprehension skill, his movements were no longer confined to fixed routines. After more than 2 hours of training, Shen Xingyan increased the progress of the power of balance to 31.5%. Seeing that it was getting late, he reminded his sister to train moderately and take care of her body, then returned to his room and connected to the Star Origin world. In the profession space, Shen Xingyan's figure reappeared, and he looked towards the target farmland, sighing softly in his heart. He didn't know what state that ethereal luck value was in after more than 2 hours of recovery, and whether it could withstand his upcoming probability requirements. No choice, I can only hope the luck value can hold up, Shen Xingyan encouraged himself in his heart. He then ignored how Wang Kai would allocate the skeletons for labor, as his little skeleton count was now numerous and no longer required meticulous allocation to easily complete the crop acceleration prompts after the professional skill was cast. Shen Xingyan took out his staff, steadied his mind slightly, temporarily suppressed the somewhat chaotic thoughts, and began to silently cast the first professional skill. As the professional skill was cast, the primordial energy within him quickly condensed to the top of his staff, and the Star Origin prompt appeared immediately. Ding tilde, it has been detected that you are casting a professional skill on some crops that are about to mature. There is a possibility of failure when casting this skill on these crops. Do you wish to continue? Seeing this familiar prompt, Shen Xingyan felt both delighted and a little helpless. He was delighted because, based on past experience, the results were always gratifying whenever this prompt appeared. He was helpless because this uncertainty made him feel uneasy, a discomfort of things deviating from the plan. However, no matter what Shen Xingyan thought, the subsequent events would proceed as usual, and there was nothing he could do to change it now. He then nodded lightly, confirming to continue casting the professional skill. The primordial energy, originally gathered on the staff, instantly shot out like an arrow from a bowstring after his confirmation, acting upon all the current crops. For this familiar situation, Shen Xingyan just stood there silently, waiting for the final result to arrive. After a slightly longer few seconds, the result from Star Origin appeared before Shen Xingyan's eyes. Congratulations, you have successfully cast a professional skill. Farmer Professional Experience +1. The brief skill prompt also indicated that his skill cast was successful again. Seeing this, a joyful expression appeared on Shen Xingyan's usually calm face. Good, good, as long as the skill cast is successful. My luck value really worked hard today, Shen Xingyan thought with a smile. He then waited for about 10 seconds, and upon seeing the harvest prompt appear, he immediately began harvesting, not even glancing at the maintenance prompts above the other farmlands. After all, with Wang Kai there, he had no worries at all about that. While Shen Xingyan was immersed in the selfless harvesting, Wang Kai, on the other side, managed the 100 little skeletons in a very orderly manner, just as his master trusted him to do. During the labor, so many little skeletons did not collide at all, and on this basis, their labor efficiency was fully utilized. Even if it were Shen Xingyan, the master of this space, to personally direct them, he might not be able to do it so well. This was also thanks to Wang Kai's incredibly fast command issuance, which could be completed with just a single thought. All the crops proceeded without any unexpected situations under Wang Kai's labor, and all maintenance work was carried out in an orderly fashion. A few minutes later, Shen Xingyan, immersed in harvesting, put the last strawberry plant into his backpack space, ending his immersive harvesting action. At the same time, the Star Origin harvest prompt also sounded. Congratulations, you planted 600 square meters of strawberries this time. With a harvest yield of 1390 kilograms, gaining 8340 points of farmer professional experience. Seeing the prompt display his new record yield, Shen Xingyan, who had already anticipated it, couldn't help but gently rub his hands, feeling a genuine excitement for the upcoming reward. Before the reward was issued, he didn't just wait idly. He quickly processed the harvested strawberry plants. And he directly opened the Star Origin Mall and sold all the crops immediately. He obtained a total of 5 gold, 857 silver, and 500 copper coins. Adding his original money, his assets now totaled 13 gold, 19 silver, and 885 copper, once again surpassing the 10 gold coin threshold. Seeing this amount of money, Shen Xingyan just nodded very calmly, then directly consumed 10 gold coins without any hesitation to extract 1 point of primordial energy attribute. After completing these tasks, he finally looked up with satisfaction, waiting for the Star Origin record-breaking prompt to appear. Chapter 208. Star Origin World did not make Shen Xingyan wait too long. Almost 3 or 4 seconds after he finished extracting the primordial energy, the record-breaking prompt appeared directly before his eyes. Congratulations! You have once again broken your previous record of 1360 kg of strawberry yield per mu, successfully achieving a result of 1390 kg. You are specially rewarded with luck value +3, farmland land plus 1800 square meters, and Xingyuan will make a full zone announcement. Would you like to disclose your information? Shen Xingyan, who had just looked up not long ago, was first surprised when he saw this record-breaking reward, then immediately became radiant. I didn't expect this reward to be luck value. Could it be that Star Origin World also knows that I currently have a severe lack of luck value, so it specifically gave this reward to help me replenish it? If that's truly the case, then it's really too thoughtful. And there's also an increase of 3 mu of farmland land. It's truly giving me exactly what I lack. Seeing this reward, Shen Xingyan couldn't stop smiling as he thought, but upon seeing the value of this reward, he felt a bit puzzled and exclaimed. However, one minor flaw is that the luck value rewarded this time is a bit small, only 3 points. I remember last time, the watermelon record break rewarded a full 6 points of luck value. But this time, it's for strawberries which have a longer growth cycle, yet it's only half of last time. Is the value of the reward attribute random? Or, like other attributes, the higher the value, the more difficult it is to improve, thereby indicating its higher value. Regarding the reduced luck value for this reward, Shen Xingyan also made a series of guesses in his mind. In the end, unable to figure it out, he simply stopped thinking about it. After all, in his opinion, the amount of the value would not affect his emphasis on this reward. One must know that before he obtained luck value, not long after he had just planted level 3 crop, the skill failure phenomenon occurred, and it was even on crop with a low growth cycle. But after obtaining 6 points of luck value, his skill seemed to have been given a green light all the way, surging non-stop. Although there were 1 or 2 skill failures, the final result was still acceptable to him. These experiences have repeatedly proven the preciousness of the luck attribute, and Shen Xingyan is naturally aware of it. If he didn't have luck value, his wool shearing plan wouldn't have progressed so smoothly. With level 3 crop, he might only be able to shear once every 3 or 4 days, so he was quite eager for luck value. However, luck value only appeared by chance once, and then never showed up again, which filled him with doubts about his future plans. He even at one point conceived the idea of continuously planting strawberries. Although this would slow down the speed of level advancement, daily record-breaking would be relatively more stable. He had thought before that if it proved that the success rate of peonies was too low, he would switch back to planting strawberries. However, this time, a luck value reward appeared again, which made him see new hope for the future. Originally, he had warned himself to face this reward with equanimity, but at this moment, he was somewhat breaking down, and the smile on his lips couldn't be contained. With these 3 points of luck value, plus the previous 6, that makes 9 points. Adding the few points of luck value he should have on him, his star origin value is at least double digits. With such an attribute, he can confidently face the probability issues in star origin world in the future. Thinking of this, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but puff out his chest, and a confident smile appeared on his face. Moreover, in a few days, after the strawberries are harvested, it should be his turn to harvest the peonies. From the previous skill failure incidents, Shen Xingyan also knew that higher level crop meant a lower success rate. He was originally a bit uncertain, but now, due to the increase in luck value, he became confident. Immediately, Shen Xingyan directly took out 100 silver coins and sent a request to Star Origin World to cancel the announcement. And Star Origin World also directly handled the matter without ceremony, and the prompt disappeared instantly. After the prompt disappeared, the record-breaking rewards also began to be issued. The luck value reward, just like last time, did not bring any special feeling to Shen Xingyan. He just vaguely knew that he had gained 3 more points of luck value. However, the 3 mu of farmland land rewarded, with the issuance of the reward, immediately began to take effect in his profession space, causing the space's range to expand outward a bit more. And just as these farmland lands were about to appear around Shen Xingyan, he moved his mind and paused them. According to the previous plan, these 3 mu of farmland land rewarded definitely cannot be used to plant peonies anymore. They need to be used to plant the second type of crop for wool shearing. To better distinguish between the 2 types of crop, it seems the farmland needs to be replanned. As the farmland land area increased, Shen Xingyan found that he could adjust the layout of the farmland land to a certain extent without affecting the crop. In light of this, Shen Xingyan rubbed his chin, pondered for a moment, and then began to operate. It was also fortunate that the land in the profession space only required a single thought from him to move. Otherwise, it would be impossible to move farmland land with crop planted on it. With a slight movement of Shen Xingyan's mind, the mu of farmland land planted with mutated plants was placed in the very center of the farmland. The importance and long-term nature of upgradable crop are self-evident. Placing them in the central position allows for better care. He then adjusted the strawberry farmland and the peony farmland, as well as the mu of farmland land waiting to be planted with peonies, together according to their planting time. When all the strawberries are harvested in the future, this entire area will be for peonies. Counting the 3 mu of farmland land that would soon be planted with new crops, a total of 12 mu of farmland land were placed around the mutated plants. If viewed from above, one would find that it presented a simplified compass-like appearance. When I acquire new farmland land in the future, I'll place it next to the second type of crop. This way, it will gradually increase and also be easier to identify. Seeing that the current plan was complete, Shen Xingyan called Wang Kai and had him arrange for the little skeleton to cultivate the mu of farmland land that had just been harvested and plant peony seeds. He, on the other hand, walked to the side and opened the Star Origin Mall, filtered out the level 4 crop, and began to choose which one should be selected as the second type of crop. Chapter 209. Shen Xingyan looked at all the rank 4 crop seeds listed in the Star Origin Mall, began to check them one by one, and made a comparison. His main focus was on their growth cycle, and finally, he set his sights on a crop whose growth cycle was only 10 days shorter than that of the peony, white peony. Item: white peony seeds. Value: 18 silver coins. Attributes: maturity period 90 days, cultivable area 600 square meters. This is it. After the final comparison, the 90-day growth cycle of white peony ranks second among rank 4 crops. Although it is slightly inferior to the peony, it is not short. Subsequently, Shen Xingyan confirmed again, and, after realizing he hadn't made a mistake, directly purchased 3 acres of white peony seeds. 3 acres of white peony seeds would have originally cost 54 silver coins. But with Shen Xingyan's 30% discount on seeds, he only paid less than 38 silver coins to put them into his backpack space. Seeing this kind of discount, every time I buy seeds always gives me a feeling that I've spent money, but also made a profit. Shen Xingyan looked at the white peony seeds in his backpack space and couldn't help but chuckle softly. Immediately, he had Wang Kai arrange for the little skeletons to plant all 3 acres of white peony seeds. But he didn't use the previous method of transitioning with other crops. For the smooth progress of the second wool-gathering plan, tomorrow, when I use my skill, I only need to accelerate 1 acre of white peony farmland. The day after tomorrow, with a slight change, I will need to accelerate 2 acres, and then it will be 3 acres of farmland accelerated together. Doing this will not only ensure the smooth progress of the plan, but also allow the white peony to grow for a longer time, and the more money will be harvested in the end. Shen Xingyan muttered this in his heart, then fully entrusted all the work here to the incredibly reliable Wang Kai. While he walked to the side and sat on the ground, feeling somewhat relaxed and content. While waiting for the little skeletons to finish planting, he also opened his attribute panel and looked at the experience value column. At this moment, it clearly displayed experience value 31,429/30,000 upgradable. After several days, I can finally upgrade again. Looking at the overflowing experience value, Shen Xingyan sighed softly, and with a thought, he directly clicked on the upgradable prompt behind it. As Shen Xingyan performed the upgrade, the Star Origin upgrade notification instantly appeared before his eyes. Congratulations, your rank has been increased to rank 21. You are rewarded with all attributes +4, free attribute points +8, first skill cooldown -3%, second skill target quantity +1. We hope you will continue to work hard and strive for improvement. As the upgrade notification arrived, the attribute rewards were immediately reflected on him. Shen Xingyan only felt a wave of comfort throughout his body. This familiar feeling made Shen Xingyan lie on the ground uncontrollably, carefully enjoying and savoring it. After raising my rank from rank 20 to rank 21, as the data said, the attribute rewards after upgrading have doubled again compared to before. My 4 main attributes have all increased by 4 points, already approaching 60 points for all attributes. Also, the cooldown of my first skill has increased from the previous -2% to -3%. Now my cooldown reduction has reached 32%, which means I can use my skill once every 16.5 hours. If it weren't for the wool gathering plan, I could use it 1 more time every 3 days. Moreover, at this rate, by the time I raise my rank to rank 27, the cooldown reduction will reach 50%. Which means that with a normal cooldown of 1 day, I can use my skill twice a day. At that time, my crop will be able to increase its growth progress by 20% every day. As long as I successfully use my skill, no crop will last more than 5 days with me. More importantly, my future wool gathering will be even smoother. 2 castings a day, plus the simultaneous progress of 2 wool gathering crops, as long as the luck value gives me a little push. The possibility of me breaking the Star Origin yield record several times in 1 day will be very high. So high it's almost unimaginable. Imagining that scene, Shen Xingyan's mouth curved into a huge arc, and a strange light shone in his eyes. Compared like this, my second skill only increased 1 target, and its improvement is much weaker. However, this also reminds me that as my rank increases, the breeding limit of my ranch should have increased to 11. As Shen Xingyan thought this, the comfortable feeling brought by the attribute increase slowly faded. Only then did he allocate all 8 reward-free attribute points to the primordial energy attribute, making his primordial energy attribute in the star origin world reach a terrifying 92 points, already close to 3 digits. If so much primordial energy could all be extracted into the real world, wouldn't my power of balance take off on the spot? What a pity, I'm a poor person. Shen Xingyan looked at these primordial energy attributes with some envy, and his desire to make money became even more urgent. And if other combat professionists heard Shen Xingyan's lament like this, they would probably be unable to control their fists from smashing fiercely at him. It should be known that advanced combat professionists above rank 50 only harvested a few meager gold coins after several days. However, Shen Xingyan, as a farmer who had only awakened for a little over a month, not only left them far behind in his daily harvest. He even obtained more than 30 gold coins very easily today. Although it was an accidental event, it was still quite astonishing. Moreover, it is foreseeable that as his rank increases, his speed of making money will become faster and faster, reaching a level that makes them look up in awe. And for such a person to cry poverty here, it was indeed a bit too much begging for a beating. Of course, Shen Xingyan would not think his thoughts were so infuriating. He was just sincerely stating a fact. Compared to those second-generation, rich kids who relied on their parents, he really was a poor person. After he finished sighing, he stood up, crossed the fence, and came to the ranch. At the same time, he bought a calf from the Star Origin Mall and placed it directly in the ranch, nodding slightly at the 11 calves. I wonder if the 3 luck value I just got will give me a surprise when I use my skill tomorrow. Shen Xingyan was very much looking forward to the magic of luck value. Chapter 210. Shen Xingyan turned around and returned to the ranch, sitting directly on the ground to rest. While waiting for the little skeletons to finish their labor and admiring the peaceful farmland landscape with a smile. At this moment, the farmland in front of him, with the addition of the 3 acres of cultivated land from this reward, had expanded to 13 acres in size, making the entire farmland much wider, and the more than 100 little skeletons working inside no longer seemed too many. After admiring for a while, Shen Xingyan finally retracted his gaze and, with a thought, directly activated the Origin Energy Cultivation function, setting the cultivate time to 6 hours. The Cultivate of Tranquility skill triggered his 10x cultivate speed, and the surrounding small particles began to become visible to the naked eye, surging into his body. Looking at these small particles, Shen Xingyan found that their number had increased significantly compared to before. And knowing the reason, he naturally looked towards the mutated crop in the center of the farmland. It seems that as the growth time of the mutated crop increases, the number of small particles it produces also increases. Other crops all produce light green small particles, but it produces both types of small particles. What a miraculous plant. Counting the time, its 100-day growth cycle will reach perfection the day after tomorrow. Then I will know what changes it will undergo and if it will bring me some small surprises. Shen Xingyan murmured softly in his heart. Then he waited for the little skeletons to finish planting the peony and white peony seeds, recorded the time, and then slowly lay down, entering a state of sleep. Countless small particles were restoring his state, coupled with the quiet and harmonious atmosphere of the profession space, making him sleep exceptionally soundly. At this time, in the real world, in the extraterritorial world area of the North District, the disasters had already approached the combat range and were formally engaging in a head-on confrontation with the guards protecting the border. The disasters, relying on endless attrition tactics, repeatedly impacted the North District's border defenses, forcing the guards to respond. What's wrong with these disasters recently? They've repeatedly rioted. I thought they would be more restrained after the Central District cleared them once before, but I didn't expect them to attack again after only a few days. They are like a dogskin plaster, truly not allowing anyone a moment of peace. Moreover, from the offensive, It's clear that these disasters are leading the charge, so there will likely be an even fiercer offensive later. This situation vaguely resembles the large-scale disaster attack a decade or so ago. It's always a long period of attrition, followed by a sudden large-scale attack when the human race is no longer paying much attention. Watching the soldiers surge forward in waves and then quickly retreat to recover, the long-robed general, standing at the highest point of the border analyzing the battle, knew that the opponent was going to fight an attrition war again. He felt a headache from this and also had a bad premonition. Then he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. So many years, and we've always been passively beaten. When will we be the side that isn't consumed? Or even better, when will the disasters gradually be consumed by us? I truly hope that day might happen. While he was expressing such emotions, he didn't know that someone had already begun to slowly implement his idea. When the disasters attacked, Shen Xingyan's 9 clones also had no rest. In other areas, they were either killing disasters or on their way to find disasters. Because Shen Xingyan had given them the strategy of stable and long-term engagement with the enemy. They were very careful every time they killed a disaster, only acting when they confirmed there was no intentional threat to their existence nearby. This also allowed them to survive for so long while hunting in the extraterritorial world. Without stamina limitations and excessive distracting thoughts, under Shen Xingyan's command. They were like killing machines with their seal lifted, constantly engaged in the business of killing day and night. The latest assassin No. 12 clones attributes had already reached 12 in all attributes, and he had just extracted 4 points of primordial energy attributes today. With this primordial energy, the clones he generates next will have 14 points in all attributes, already equivalent to a level 3 professional, not to mention the martial skill bonus from their entry level. And it is foreseeable that as his primordial energy attributes in the real world increase, more and stronger clones will be deployed to this land. This also indicates that Shen Xingyan's attrition against the disasters has begun. Within the profession space of Star Origin World, its peacefulness formed a huge contrast with the battlefield of the real world. Shen Xingyan spent 6 hours in this quiet and harmonious environment. As the cultivate time ended, he emerged from his meditative state. And the star origin prompt also appeared before him. Ding tilde detected that your primal energy factor has met 1 point. Your primordial energy limit has automatically increased by 1 point. Shen Xingyan, who had just woken up feeling exceptionally refreshed, felt even more pleased after hearing this primordial energy prompt. He opened the attribute panel and checked his current primordial energy attributes. Seeing that his original 92 points of primordial energy limit had increased to 93 points, and there were also 0.5 primal energy factor overflowing after the upgrade, the smile on his face widened significantly. Today, after cultivating for 6 hours, I gained 0.7 primal energy factor, which is 0.1 more than before. This is all thanks to the mutated crop. The mutated crop is truly a good thing. Shen Xingyan subconsciously looked towards the very center of the farmland. At this moment, there were a few little skeletons working there. In the center of the large area of black soil, there was only one plant, which stood out so uniquely compared to the surrounding crops. I wonder if all spirit rank crops are so magical, or if it's just my mutated crop that is. Shen Xingyan murmured softly to himself. Then he stood up, gave a few instructions to Wang Kai, and with a thought, his consciousness returned directly to the real world. At this time, it was almost 4 a.m. in the real world, and the outside was completely enveloped in darkness, as if black was the main color of this world. Shen Xingyan checked his real-world attributes, and seeing that his primordial energy had reached 28/28, a slight smile appeared on his lips. He then stood up from the bed and performed his clone technique. Looking at the miniature clone in front of him, Shen Xingyan murmured to himself. According to the skill description of clone technique, my 13th clone should already have 14 points in all attributes. Although this is still not enough to be impressive in the extraterritorial world, The clone's stealth is too powerful. The role it plays in the extraterritorial world is already comparable to a level 10 plus assassin professional. Chapter 211. Next, I need to figure out how to send the clone to the extraterritorial world. Given the current time, it's unrealistic to simply walk out of the extraterritorial world like the previous clone, as the border guards won't let anyone through at this hour. So, there's only one way. I have to use my teleportation skill to directly take him to the extraterritorial world and manually send him out. Shen Xingyan thought this, took out the primordial energy recovery potion he had bought earlier from his star origin card space, and poured it directly into his mouth, while also continuously inputting primordial energy into the scarecrow prop on his chest. A few minutes later, when his primordial energy had mostly recovered, he activated his teleportation skill with a thought, arriving at a spot not far from the border wall. At this time, the border, which should have been quiet, was unusually noisy, filled with the sounds of various battles. Shen Xingyan was not surprised by this. After all, their trial had ended abruptly due to the disaster riot. From the discovery of the disaster's tracks yesterday until now, after such a long time, the disaster and the base's border defense forces should have been clashing for a while. Shen Xingyan listened to the movements from the extraterritorial world, and his heart couldn't help but turn cold. He thought of how, many years ago, the riots of these disasters outside had caused his loved ones to leave him, and had also made him and his sister live a life without support for so many years, struggling daily just to make ends meet, let alone receive any elder's love. As soon as he thought of this, Shen Xingyan's eyes began to redden slightly. This feeling of hatred made him wish he could instantly move directly in front of the disasters and begin his most direct revenge. However, rationality stopped him from doing so. Although his attributes had indeed improved somewhat now, compared to some of the stronger disasters, he was still not enough. If he went there now, he would just be an ant with a bit of combat power. Calm down, don't be impulsive. Acting rashly kills people. Lying low is the Tao. Shen Xingyan gently patted his heart, continuously comforting himself. After all, with his potential, he wouldn't lack opportunities for revenge in the future. For now, he could only suppress this urge. He then concealed himself slightly. While waiting for the teleportation skill to cool down, he continued to drink another bottle of primordial energy recovery potion. 2 minutes later, he felt that his primordial energy had mostly recovered, but he didn't instantly move out immediately. Instead, he activated the scarecrow's protection and increased its range to 2 meters around him, providing safety for his upcoming teleportation to outside the border. At the same time, he used his consciousness to sense the positions of his other clones, and found that Assassin Clone 12 location was relatively suitable for him. To be safe, he had Clone 12 check the surrounding environment, so he wouldn't accidentally land in a river. After confirming that everything was safe through the clone's perspective in his mind, Shen Xingyan finally felt relieved. Seeing that all preparations were complete and there were no oversights, Shen Xingyan didn't hesitate. He directly consumed nearly half of his primordial energy, and in the next instant, he appeared directly beside Clone 12. As soon as he arrived, he assumed a combat stance. Once bitten, twice shy, the sudden attack by Desert Eagle last time had taught him a good lesson. Seeing that there was no immediate danger around him, he quickly put down Assassin Clone 13, while his mind began to activate the teleportation skill to return to the base. At the same time, his eyes scanned around to prevent any sudden incidents like before. Indeed, the extraterritorial world without a safety zone really gives one an unsettled feeling. I wonder how those advanced professionals who stay in the extraterritorial world year-round manage, but in the end, it's because I'm too weak. In this era, strength is the foundation for survival. Everything else is empty talk. Shen Xingyan looked at the deep chill emanating from the dark surroundings and couldn't help but sigh. With his current strength, he only dared to appear at this location at this time due to the Scarecrow's extremely high protection attribute. While Shen Xingyan was observing the movements around him, the teleportation skill's cooldown was completed. Shen Xingyan, who had been silently chanting the teleportation skill in his heart, instantly returned to the base. This coming and going did not alarm any of the base's facilities. Shen Xingyan, who had anticipated this, wasn't particularly emotional. He merely felt his primordial energy was nearly depleted, so he quickly drank another bottle of primordial energy recovery potion. And couldn't help but once again lament the insufficiency of his primordial energy. When I have money in the future, I must buy a special item that can quickly replenish primordial energy. Otherwise, it's too inconvenient. Several of my skills consume too much primordial energy. Every time I use them, I have to wait for primordial energy to recover. Shen Xingyan thought silently. Then, after recovering some primordial energy, he instantly moved to the basement of his home. With his heart settled, he began to train his power of balance. While Shen Xingyan was training, he was unaware that in the extraterritorial world, where he had just appeared, a disaster resembling neither wolf nor horse suddenly appeared. It seemed to be sensing something intently, then looked around with some confusion, as if not understanding why the aura had suddenly disappeared. It lingered in that spot for several circles before finally leaving reluctantly. This disaster was clearly attracted by Shen Xingyan's enticing life aura. Unfortunately, facing Shen Xingyan, who possessed the teleportation skill and was very cautious. Unless it could appear there within 10 seconds and possess a mental attribute of up to 500 points, it would not be able to successfully capture Shen Xingyan, this delicacy. Otherwise, its end was destined to be a fruitless one. Meanwhile, Shen Xingyan, the target of the disaster, was already immersed in his training. He trained until past 7 a.m., raising the progress of his power of balance to 34.5%, before slowly stopping his movements. He walked to the kitchen on the first floor and began making breakfast for his sister. At this moment, Shen Xingyan, who had experienced several days of trial in the extraterritorial world, stirred the pot, feeling as if everything had returned to how it was before, living a relatively peaceful life. However, after truly witnessing powerful disasters, he gained a more realistic understanding of the base's border defenses. He was unsure if this base could truly guarantee the safety of the people inside, which greatly intensified his sense of crisis. At the same time, his mindset was no longer as naive as before, and his determination to become stronger grew even firmer. Chapter 212. After a warm breakfast with his sister, Shen Xingyan immediately resumed his training without rest. He trained until past 2 in the afternoon, before finally taking a short break. Emerging from his immersive state, Shen Xingyan then felt that his body's energy had dropped quite severely. He immediately opened his attribute panel and saw that his stamina was approaching 10 points, so he quickly took out some food and began to eat. At the same time, his gaze fell on the progress of power of balance, and when he saw that the skill progress had reached 41%, he chuckled and nodded. The increase in progress was a very positive feedback for him, who had been training non-stop. Although the progress increase is not as rapid as before, the feeling of constantly improving my strength every moment truly motivates me to train. Coupled with the comfortable rhythm of the movements refined by comprehension skill, the combination of the two has actually made me a little addicted. Shen Xingyan couldn't help but shake his head and chuckled softly. He then noticed that the clone technique skill had completed its cooldown again, and after a brief thought, he directly cast it, looking at the assassin No. 14 ant clone in front of him. Shen Xingyan instructed, "Once you reach the border, find an uninhabited place to transform into a human form at will. Then use the excuse of supporting the border to pass through the exit directly to the extraterritorial world, and begin hunting disasters with similar attributes to yourself." After giving the instructions, he sent the clone to the border, while he slowly recovered his stamina and primordial energy to prepare for the upcoming insight time. In his opinion, the news of the disaster riot, after a day of spreading, should have completely circulated in the North District. And sending the clone over with this excuse, now would not seem abrupt or cause unnecessary suspicion. After a few minutes, when his stamina and primordial energy had almost recovered, his insight skill cooldown was also complete. Shen Xingyan glanced at Clone No. 14, who was still on the move, and no longer paid too much attention, merely transmitting his thoughts. He instructed the clone to wait in an uninhabited place if it could not leave the border, and he would figure out a solution later. Having arranged the matters on the clone's side, Shen Xingyan did not delay, and with a thought, he directly cast his insight skill. With his current primordial energy attribute reaching 28 points, after using the insight skill this time, his insight value directly increased by 14 points, reaching a new high of 22 points. Such an insight value, if placed in the entire world, would probably be considered quite terrifying. Although Shen Xingyan only had a short hour each day, the improvement to himself was extremely obvious. And the increase in insight value instantly boosted his already insightful thoughts by a large margin. This made his understanding of the transparent figures' movements in his mind even more thorough, and his comprehension of their essence improved once again. In this state, drawing inferences from one instance was no longer enough to describe Shen Xingyan. His thinking and level of insight had reached a superhuman realm. At the same time, the progress of his power of balance also increased at an obvious rate. After an hour of insight time, his original skill progress of 41% directly increased by 5.6%, reaching 46.6%. Shen Xingyan, who had checked the skill through his star origin card, nodded with satisfaction. But his body's movements showed no sign of stopping, still practicing the power of balance after gaining insight. At the same time, he quickly glanced at the perspective of Clone No. 14 in his mind, seeing that he was already in the extraterritorial world and had begun searching for low-attribute disasters to hunt, which greatly relieved him. This way, I can save a lot of primordial energy recovery potions, Shen Xingyan murmured with a smile. He then continued to train for another 2 hours before slowly stopping his movements. With a thought, the star origin card automatically attached to his forehead, and his real-world attributes were displayed before him. Shen Xingyan ignored the again depleted stamina and instead looked at the skill progress of power of balance. As I had guessed before, after today's insight skill, the progress per hour has increased by some amount, reaching 1.14%. It seems power of balance is also miraculous. Even under my powerful insight just now, it remains so steady. However, this also indirectly proves that, although power of balance seems to have no difficulty in improvement, its difficulty is actually gradually increasing. It's just that I have the insight skill, and I hadn't noticed it before. Thinking of this, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but feel fortunate that he possessed the insight skill. He then, as usual, went to the kitchen to start cooking dinner, but slightly differently from before, he cooked a large amount of food this time. Meat products made up the majority, all high-quality meats he had extracted from the star origin world, which could fully replenish body energy while also having very high nutritional value. Shen Xingyan even luxuriously added 10 ml of physique potion to each of their meals, determined to make up for what was previously missing. And Shen Xingyan, who had just returned from school, was so excited that she jumped up and down at the sight of such a large table of dishes. During the days Shen Xingyan was out training, as a sister whose appetite was greater than her cooking skills, she could only make a few home-cooked dishes. And for those highly skilled dishes, she basically never made them, adhering to the principle of not wasting ingredients. Now seeing all these delicious foods, her appetite was completely uncontrollable. On the other side, Shen Xingyan also had a great appetite for these dishes because he had been training outdoors during this period and had not properly treated himself. Thus, the siblings began to feast heartily on the table of dishes before them. After the meal, the siblings each held their stomachs, leaning back as they returned to their respective rooms, slowly digesting the sumptuous dinner. Shen Xingyan lay on the bed, his consciousness connecting to the star origin card to go to the star origin world, where he summoned his 7 little skeletons for the day, bringing his total number of little skeletons to 108. He sent Wang Kai to train the newly arrived little skeletons, while he himself came to the ranch. Looking at the 11 calves in front of him, he rested his chin in his hand and slowly murmured, "I hope the luck value I just obtained yesterday will work, and they will successfully mutate directly after I cast my professional skill." Hoping this, Shen Xingyin took out his staff and silently activated his second professional skill in his mind. Chapter 213. Shen Xingyin gently waved his staff, clearly feeling 11 points of primordial energy beginning to flow within him. After a wondrous transformation through a professional skill, it finally shot out, affecting all the calves. Having finished casting the second professional skill, Shen Xingyin slowly put away his staff, his eyes fixed on the scene before him, hoping for the result he desired. At this moment, the excited cries of the calves echoed throughout the entire ranch, but this phenomenon only lasted for a moment before disappearing. Despite this, Shen Xingyin, who had several experiences, was not flustered at all. Yesterday's successful case told him that until the last moment, success and failure were both unknowns. So, he did not make a rash judgment, but quietly waited for the star origin prompt to appear. After waiting for nearly half a minute, the star origin skill prompt appeared before him. "Regrettably, your professional skill cast failed. Farmer experience +1. Looking at this prompt, Shen Xingyin, whose expression had been calm with a hint of anticipation, suddenly widened his eyes in surprise. After all, he had thought the probability of success this time was quite high, but he didn't expect to be met with such a cold reality. He then reacted a bit, couldn't help but gently pat his forehead and muttered to himself with a wry smile, "It's a failure again. I just gained 3 points of luck value. I didn't expect Star Origin World to be so unmerciful, giving me such a blow directly. But from this, it seems the probability of animal mutation in the ranch is indeed quite low. Even with my 20% mutation probability and so many luck value bonuses, it still gave me a clear failure. If it were anyone else, the probability would probably be even lower. It's a good thing my main source of income isn't from the ranch side right now, otherwise. Trying to get rich by relying on animal mutation and quickly extracting attributes into the real world would be quite unrealistic. Looking at it this way, my farmland is still better." Shen Xingyin gently shook his head, dispelling the slightly depressed mood in his heart. He then checked the feeding and other conditions in the ranch. Seeing that there were no problems, he returned to the farmland. As was his habit, he chatted with Wang Kai for a while, which counted as training their tacit agreement and cultivating Wang Kai's consciousness. In his opinion, Wang Kai already had a nascent consciousness and could vaguely express its thoughts. If he talked to it more, it might even improve its consciousness. It was like a child. The more it learned, the more its consciousness would gradually grow. And he had experience raising his younger sister in the real world, so he had a good understanding of how to communicate with children. Although he didn't know if such behavior would be effective, based on the principle of trying anyway, he subconsciously persisted. After the chat, Shen Xingyin returned to the real world. At this time, the food in his stomach had already been slightly digested due to the strong body, which filled him with energy. Seeing this, he did not stop at all and immediately began to exercise. With ample energy supply, his exercise was exceptionally smooth. In this immersive power of balance training, time unknowingly reached midnight, and his body's movements slowly stopped. He took out his star origin card to check his skill progress and found that it had reached 55%. My power of balance still has 45% progress left until it upgrades. I'll try to get it done in the next 2 days and see what kind of improvement there will be. Although it only increased to 55% in 3 days, with the existence of my comprehension skill, this goal should not be difficult to achieve. He was full of confidence in the training for the next 2 days. He then saw the clone technique in the attribute panel, which had finished cooling down. He looked at the weather outside, which had already turned completely dark, and began to ponder. I wonder if letting the clone go to the boundary, now, will allow it to pass through the exit smoothly. Although I have the convenience of the teleportation skill, I can teleport out directly like last time, but it consumes too much primordial energy. And to be on the safe side, it's better for me not to go to that extraterritorial world right now if I can avoid it. It seems I'll have to let the clone try it. As Shen Xingyan thought this, his hands did not stop. After using the clone technique, he instantly teleported with Assassin Clone 15 to a place not far from the boundary. He then had the clone transform into a human form and go directly to the exit to try, while he observed the situation from a distance through the clone's perspective. When Assassin Clone 15 gradually approached the exit, Shen Xingyan realized that there were many people here at this time. And quite a few combat professionists were going in and out, supporting the base's border defense. Seeing this, Shen Xingyan's heart suddenly felt a warmth, somewhat infected. After all, professionals who could support the border defense at this time, regardless of their attributes being high or low, emitted a radiance that was equally respectable. At the same time, he felt much more at ease about the clone's smooth passage. Although I cannot directly participate in the battle, my dozens of clones are also working day and night for the peace of the base. It's just that their strength is low now, and their effect is not very prominent. But in the end, it's still because my own strength is not enough. I'll wait a little longer, and I'll slowly give these disasters a return gift. Shen Xingyan then took a deep look in the direction of the exit, and at the same time, his figure instantly disappeared from where he was, appearing in his room. After lying on the bed, his consciousness connected to the Star Origin card and entered Star Origin world. In the profession space, Shen Xingyan, who appeared there, directly looked at the strawberry farmland that was nearing harvest and softly analyzed. According to my previous records, it's more suitable to harvest this strawberry at around 5 a.m. And now I only have 5 hours left to sleep. I need to rest quickly to recover my energy. Shen Xingyan thought this, and at the same time, with a thought, he directly activated the Origin Energy Cultivation function. After setting the time, under the effect of Star Origin World, he quickly entered a state of sleep. Immediately, a large number of small particles began to appear and rushed directly towards him, causing his energy to recover rapidly, and his primal energy factor also increased at an incredible speed. And the light green small particles were also replenishing his consumed physical potential in the real world through the connection of his consciousness. Chapter 214. Shen Xingyan steadily cultivated for 5 hours in this state that no one else had ever experienced. As the set time arrived, his cultivation of primordial energy also ended, and the anomalies spread throughout the profession space finally came to an end. The end of his meditative state also woke Shen Xingyan from his sleep. Just as he slowly opened his eyes, he suddenly saw the Star Origin prompt that appeared before him. Ding tilde, it has been detected that your primal energy factor has met 1 point. Your primordial energy limit has automatically increased by 1 point. Shen Xingyan was not surprised by the appearance of the prompt, as it was within his expectations. He merely smiled faintly at this prompt and paid it no further attention, instead turning his gaze towards the farmland before him. Now, his primordial energy attribute in the Star Origin world was quite impressive. In the past, a 1-point increase in primordial energy might have made him exceptionally excited. But now, he was much calmer, and he had something even more important to do: activate his professional skill and harvest the strawberries. At this moment, Shen Xingyan flipped over and stood up. After feeling his decent mental state and nodding slightly, he went directly to today's target farmland, and the primal staff suddenly appeared in his hand. Wang Kai, who was leisurely working in the farmland, saw its master wake up, stand in the farmland, and take out the item called the staff. Having become extremely familiar with this scene, it merely moved its little skeleton head slightly. And the other little skeletons began to move quickly according to their previously assigned areas. Shen Xingyan saw the surprisingly orderly little skeletons, and the corners of his mouth also curved slightly, revealing a faint smile. After waiting for the little skeletons to take their positions, with a thought, he selected all 11 acres of farmland, except for the 2 acres of white peony. And then directly activated his professional skill, which increased crop growth progress by plus 20%. As the primordial energy within his body, transformed by the skill, gathered at the tip of the staff. Star Origin's old friend prompt appeared as expected. Ding tilde, it has been detected that you are casting a professional skill on some crops that are about to mature. The casting of this skill may fail for these crops. Do you wish to continue? Seeing this prompt, Shen Xingyan did not feel much unease. Regarding the previous failure at the ranch, he had comforted himself by saying he was accumulating success chances for the farmland. Now, seeing this prompt, he had a lot of confidence and simply nodded lightly to confirm continuation. As he confirmed, the primordial energy instantly acted on the target crops, and at the same time, a strange energy began to generate. Shen Xingyan, who was very familiar with this phenomenon, waited calmly. A few seconds later, Star Origin's prompt appeared before him. Congratulations, you have successfully cast a professional skill. Farmer Professional Experience Points +1. After seeing the successful professional skill prompt, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but sigh. The first Origin skill was as steady as ever. At the same time, his mood also lightened considerably, and the sense of irritation from the attack on the real world also dissipated somewhat. Luck value is still very reliable here at the farmland. It's probably because the failure rate here at the farmland is currently low, which is why there's been a string of successes. If the probability were 20% like at the ranch, I don't think the outcome would be like this. I wonder what the success rate will be for level 4 crops in the future if this continues. Shen Xingyan couldn't help but think during the wait for the harvest. Originally, he thought that with the addition of 3 luck attributes, things would be much more stable. But the failure at the ranch had made him a bit wary, knowing that until the very end, everything was an unknown. After waiting for a while, he saw the harvest icon appear above the farmland. And then he immediately began his skilled harvesting, leaving all other farmland maintenance work to Wang Kai and the skeletons. In his opinion, although the farmland within the space had increased by 3 acres, Wang Kai and the skeletons' overflowing labor force was more than enough to handle it. Moreover, this time he only accelerated 1 acre of white peony farmland, which would not put much burden on the little skeletons' work. And indeed, just as he had thought, the little skeletons, facing the overwhelming maintenance prompts, felt no pressure at all and continued to work in an orderly manner under the command of Wang Kai and the 6 captains. For the current increase in workload, the newly arrived 7 little skeletons were sufficient to cope. Under such clearly divided cooperation, a few minutes later, Shen Xingyan's harvesting journey also came to an end. As he placed the last strawberry into his backpack space, Star Origin's harvest prompt appeared simultaneously. Congratulations! You have planted 600 square meters of strawberries this time, with a harvest yield of 1430 kilograms, and gained 8580 Farmer Professional Experience Points. Shen Xingyan straightened up and looked at the numbers in the prompt. He was not surprised, and a faint smile appeared on his lips for this expected result. At the same time, he separated the harvested strawberry plants in his backpack space, briefly checked the attributes of the 2 crops, and found that they were still of perfect quality after being enhanced by the black soil. After nodding with satisfaction, he opened the Star Origin Mall and directly sold all the crops. With the 6 gold, 25 silver, and 500 copper coins from the harvest, his total money reached 8 gold, 588 silver, and 385 copper, just over 1 gold coin short of another primordial energy extraction. Looking at the money from this harvest, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. With so much gold, if it weren't for the need to extract attributes to improve my strength in the real world, I probably couldn't spend it all no matter how much I squandered it. And this reason was common to most people in the base. They basically all, like Shen Xingyan, chose to directly extract attributes or equipment to improve their strength once they had accumulated enough gold coins. After all, in today's real world, if money is not spent on oneself or one's family, perhaps one day in the future, it will no longer be needed. It truly illustrates what it means that you never know which comes first, accident or tomorrow. He then glanced at the experience bar in his attribute panel, seeing that it had reached 10,011/40,000 experience points, knowing that it would still take a few days to upgrade. He was not anxious about this. After closing the attribute panel, he looked up, waiting for this record-breaking reward. As he anticipated, the Star Origin Breakthrough Record prompt appeared as desired in the sky above the profession space, echoing in Shen Xingyan's ears. Chapter 215. Congratulations, you have once again broken your previous record of 1390 kg of strawberry yield per moo, successfully reaching 1430 kg. You are specially rewarded with a talent skill growth stone and a well-digging device. Xingyuan will make an announcement across the entire region. Would you like to make your information public? When Shen Xingyan saw the adorable talent skill growth stone appear as a reward again, his eyes immediately lit up with a different kind of brilliance, and his face was full of smiles, expressing his current satisfaction. It's another adorable stone. My talent skill can be upgraded again. It seems accumulating luck value isn't a bad thing after all. It's a pity I can't manually control the failure or success of skills. Otherwise, if the ranch always failed and the farmland always gave out talent stones, that mode would be excellent. Shen Xingyan thought happily, then carefully admired the notification again. It was then that he discovered there was another reward, a well-digging device. This time the rewards are quite generous. Before, every time I received a talent stone, it was the only reward. But this time, a second reward appeared. Is it because my luck value is higher, so the rewards are also higher? However, what is a well-digging device used for? Could it be that I can dig another well? Thinking of this, a somewhat puzzled Shen Xingyan couldn't help but look at the well in the center of the farmland. At this moment, the little skeletons, who were performing the irrigation task, were drawing water from it with buckets and then quickly running back to the moo of farmland that needed irrigation. As his farmland expanded, the distance the little skeletons had to run for irrigation also increased significantly. Although they were not limited by stamina and would not become less efficient due to prolonged full-speed running, the round trip to the well still had a certain impact on their labor. Moreover, it was foreseeable that as his farmland increased in the future, this impact would also grow. The reason this problem had not received Shen Xingyan's attention before was that the improvement in the attributes and numbers of the little skeletons had masked this drawback. But now that such a reward appeared, it made Shen Xingyan realize the existence of this problem. I didn't even notice such a big problem before. It seems that being away from labor for a long time has made me a bit careless. But now, with this well-digging device, I can have an additional well, which will greatly increase the labor efficiency of the little skeletons. I didn't expect this reward, overshadowed by the light of the talent stone, to be a good thing for me too. This record-breaking breakthrough really gave me quite a surprise. A somewhat joyful Shen Xingyan directly took out 100 silver coins and requested Star Origin World to cancel the announcement. Star Origin World also responded quickly, directly collecting the money. As the silver coins in Shen Xingyan's hand disappeared, the Xingyuan regional announcement also vanished. 2 streaks of light, one black and one silver, flashed before his eyes and merged into his backpack space. Seeing this, Shen Xingyan quickly opened his backpack space, eager to check the charming talent stone. He found that its attribute was still talent, skill, synchronous growth +1, and no more surprising attributes appeared. But Shen Xingyan was already very content with this. After all, the ability of talent to grow was a great joy. And after such a long period of understanding, he already knew that it was unlikely to obtain a talent stone with growth +2 or even higher growth here with the strawberry. With a thought, Shen Xingyan held the talent stone in his hand, gently caressing and admiring it for a while. Knowing that it was not the time to use it, he gently placed it back. Then he looked at the silver rod-shaped well-digging device item. Well-digging device special item quantity. 1 attribute. Permanent item, can open or close a well at any selected location on the land. The opened well will have a diameter of 1 meter. Profession restriction. Farmer working status. Closed note. With it, crop will no longer have to worry about water source issues. Originally, Shen Xingyan hadn't paid much attention to this additional reward of the talent stone. But after reading the attributes of this item, his mouth couldn't help but curve into a smile. This item is truly surprising, and its attributes are quite impressive. Originally, I thought this was just a one-time item that could open another well for me, which would already be quite good, but I didn't expect it to be a permanent item. In that case, can't I open a well in the center of every moo of farmland, greatly increasing the labor efficiency of the little skeletons? So it really is as the note in the introduction says. With it, I no longer have to worry about not having enough wells. Thinking of this, his gaze couldn't help but turn to his vast farmland, and a heartfelt smile appeared on his face. Then he had Wang Kai arrange for the little skeletons to cultivate the moo of farmland they were on and plant the peony seeds, while he unhesitatingly began the well-digging work. He took out the normal-sized silver rod from his backpack space and walked to the very center of this moo of farmland. After selecting the location, with a thought, he activated the well-digging device in his hand. The silver rod, which was originally of normal thickness in his hand, immediately soared into the air after he confirmed its use. And in an instant, it transformed into a thick rod with a diameter of 1 meter, striking down little by little at the location designated by Shen Xingyan. The entire process lasted for nearly 2 minutes. By the time the rod returned to Shen Xingyan's hand, a well had been completed. Looking at the wellhead overflowing with water, identical to the well rewarded by Star Origin World earlier, Shen Xingyan was immediately beyond satisfied. So this is how wells are opened, so simple and brutal. This is an eye-opener, but this well-digging device is quite magical. It can grow larger and longer. If this were a weapon, coupled with my subduing demon staff, its power would probably increase by dozens of times, right? Shen Xingyan marveled as he examined the rod in his hand, his thoughts drifting. After marveling, he continued to walk to other farmlands, performing similar operations, as if he had found a new toy, never tiring of it. As the well digging continued, after more than 20 minutes, every moo of farmland had a well. At the same time, Wang Kai and the skeletons had also completed the planting. Seeing Shen Xingyan return after digging the wells, the emotion Wang Kai conveyed was filled with admiration. Chapter 216. Through the much clearer conscious connection, Shen Xingyan naturally clearly felt Wang Kai's emotions. Initially, he was a bit confused, not understanding why Wang Kai would suddenly have such emotions. But after looking at the stick in his hand and the newly dug well, he vaguely understood. He knew that his act of digging the well had caused Wang Kai to misunderstand that he possessed some divine ability, thus generating a feeling of reverence. After understanding the cause and effect of the matter, Shen Xingyan merely smiled faintly, finding it quite agreeable. He did not explain it, thinking it was fine to let Wang Kai believe that. Such a perception would make his future management easier. Moreover, he had a little selfish desire. Due to his relatively weak strength, he couldn't act high profile in the real world, which was undoubtedly frustrating for a teenager in his prime, full of youthful vigor. Fortunately, he had Wang Kai and the other little skeletons in his profession space, which allowed him to truly display some of his abilities there and enjoy the small vanity of being worshipped, considering it a form of compensation for himself. Wang Kai, your master won't let you worship him for nothing. I'll give you all a good reward later. Shen Xingyan chuckled as he patted the straw hat on Wang Kai, his mood becoming much lighter. After recording the planting time for the peonies, his gaze turned to the mutated crop in the central area of his mind, a hint of anticipation appearing on his face. According to my previous calculations, In about 3 hours, that spirit rank mutated crop will be ripe. I wonder what kind of reward a 100% growth cycle will bring me. And for this kind of mutated spirit rank crop, I wonder if there's a concept of breakthrough record in the Star Origins judgment system. If there is, will there be additional rewards? Shen Xingyan gently stroked his chin, analyzing with a smile, his gaze on the crop growing brighter. He had been very much looking forward to this spirit rank crop from the very beginning. Later, the strange phenomenon it exhibited when he cultivated primordial energy further showed its extraordinary nature, intensifying his anticipation. Slowly withdrawing his gaze, Shen Xingyan checked the entire profession space again, purchasing all the fertilizers and feeds, and also buying some buckets for the little skeletons to use in the future. Seeing that everything here had been handled, he knew it was time to use the talent stone. With a thought, he directly took out the lovely talent stone, caressed it several times, and muttered to himself, hoping to see it again, then directly clicked to use it. After he confirmed, the expected blackness before his eyes appeared again. Not surprised by this at all, Shen Xingyan instantly vanished from the profession space, his consciousness kicked back to the real world. As for Wang Kai and the other little skeletons remaining there, with their master's disappearance, they immediately felt their physical attributes improve. All the other little skeletons simultaneously looked at their leader, Commander Wang Kai. The newly arrived little skeletons, who hadn't experienced attribute increases before, expressed a very basic sense of confusion, which was then passed among the little skeletons. Wang Kai saw that his master had indeed kept his word and once again improved their physical attributes. Excited, he also heard the unique confusion of the little skeletons. He directly transmitted the master's divine might, imprinting an all-powerful reverence for their master in the minds of those unconscious little skeletons. And with their full attributes increased, their motivation for labor became even stronger. The maintenance work, which could have been easily completed due to the increase in numbers and attributes, was now performed with all their might. Furthermore, Shen Xingyan had dug wells in every acre of the farmland, which greatly improved their work efficiency. These two reasons combined meant that during the period of frequent maintenance prompts, not only did phenomena like double prompts not appear, but for a moment, the maintenance prompts even entered a brief blank phase. This caused some little skeletons to uncharacteristically stop their movements and begin waiting in place for the next prompt. Such a situation was very rare at this stage in the past. If Shen Xingyan had been there, he would surely have been grinning from ear to ear. However, having already returned to the real world, he had no time to think about the changes in the little skeletons. Having been kicked out by the Star Origin world, he was currently clutching his head, alleviating the dizzying sensation as if he had been struck. This time I was kicked out, probably because my mental energy has improved. It doesn't feel as harsh as last time, but it's still enough to make me suffer. I suppose that in the future, when my mental energy improves and my consciousness becomes stronger, this phenomenon should be much better. Shen Xingyan thought to himself. Feeling the pain in his head lessen, he gently rubbed his head and slowly sat up. He opened the attribute panel from his Star Origin card with a thought, directly locking his mental energy onto his talent skill talent. Summon Skeleton summons 8 skeleton monsters with all attributes at 8, for combat cooldown 24 hours, seeing his talent skill improved again. The happy emotion instantly cleared his mind a lot. After admiring it contentedly several times, feeling his consciousness had almost recovered, he wasted no time and went directly to the underground training room. He seized every moment to cultivate the equilibrium force. With not much money now, cultivating the equilibrium force was a very important channel for him to improve his own strength. In this focused training, 2 hours passed quickly. Shen Xingyan's equilibrium force progress also increased to 57.5%. Only then did he stop and go to the kitchen on the first floor to make breakfast for the siblings. Afterward, he and his sister enjoyed breakfast together, chatting and laughing. He cherished this peaceful yet warm life very much. After breakfast, he saw his sister off to school, then continued to cultivate for a while. After raising his equilibrium force to 58% progress, he quickly finished, returned to his room. Directly connected his consciousness to the star origin card, and entered the star origin world. This was because the mutated crop was about to ripen, and he needed to hurry and see what kind of rewards were waiting for him. In the profession space, as soon as Shen Xingyan appeared, his gaze went to the mutated crop in the very center of the farmland. Chapter 217. After Shen Xingyan saw that there was no movement from the mutated crop for the time being, he slowly turned his gaze to Wang Kai and the others. After he carefully checked, he found that all the little skeletons had not only changed their attribute panels to a value of 8 for all attributes, but their height had also increased somewhat. Shen Xingyan called Wang Kai over and had him stand beside him. Seeing that Wang Kai had already reached his chest and had become increasingly mature, he nodded in satisfaction. At this growth rate of the little skeletons, after I enhance my talent a few more times, they should be about the same height as me. However, this is also good. Although they have lost some of their cuteness, it will be much more convenient for them to work. In the future, if they encounter those long-cycle, tall-stemmed crops, there will be no need to consider the height issue. Shen Xingyan thought this to himself, and at the same time, he took Wang Kai to the central farmland to wait for the last few minutes until the mutated crop matured. At this moment, there were no maintenance or harvest prompts above the mutated crop in front of him. Everything seemed very calm. The mutated crop had also evolved from its previous sapling-like prototype to its current, more fully formed state. However, its height was not at all what a tree should be, only reaching Shen Xingyan's waist. If it weren't for its extraordinary performance and attribute description, from an external perspective, it would probably be seen as a taller weed in the star origin world. Shen Xingyan squatted down and carefully examined the details of the entire plant. He found that the leaf patterns on the plant were quite complex, distinctly different from the regular patterns of other plants. Each leaf was like a ghostly scribble, with no discernible pattern. Moreover, each leaf was not completely identical, as if each leaf had its own personality. A pile of individualistic leaves, combined with strange and twisted branches, formed the mutated crop in front of him. From its appearance, its aesthetic quality was somewhat unbearable to look at. If it were someone else who didn't know better, they would probably directly eradicate it upon seeing it. One cannot judge a person by their appearance, and the same goes for trees. Moreover, from its previous performance, this unassuming little fellow possesses great original energy within it. Otherwise, the speed of my origin energy cultivation could not have increased so quickly, but it's almost reached a 100-day growth cycle. Why isn't there any sign of fruit on the entire plant? Could it be that this time it's just a simple increase in rank and no fruit will be produced, making me come all this way for nothing? Shen Xingyan, squatting there and observing the mutated crop, murmured softly. He was somewhat unsure about this mutated plant. Just like that, under his gaze, the last few minutes until the mutated crop was fully mature passed. And the mutated crop, which had been calm for a long time, reacted as the maturation time arrived. A bright but not dazzling sphere slowly condensed at its apex, emitting an incredibly kind aura. While it made Shen Xingyan, who was observing it at close range, feel warm, a strong desire for this sphere arose deep within his heart. Wang Kai, beside him, also felt this aura. The instinctive urge made him subconsciously take a step forward. If these things didn't belong to his master, he would have desperately rushed forward to seize them. At such a close distance, for Wang Kai, who had already developed consciousness, the light sphere's attraction was too great. Even so, faint blue dusk continuously emanated from his black, hollow skeleton eye sockets, indicating that his mood was not calm at this moment. And the other little skeletons, upon sensing this aura, subconsciously looked over. An instinctive feeling made them maintain their gaze in that direction, unwilling to turn away for a long time. Shen Xingyan, who had previously worried about coming for nothing, now had this doubt completely vanish. After noticing the abnormality of the little skeletons, combined with his own feelings just now, he felt that this light sphere in front of him was even more extraordinary. What kind of thing could cause me and the little skeletons to have this feeling? What is this desire that originates from the depths of our hearts? At this moment, the curiosity and doubt in Shen Xingyan's heart had reached their peak, and his gaze towards the light sphere became increasingly fervent. After more than 10 seconds, the soft light of the sphere slowly dissipated, and a fist-sized round sphere appeared before Shen Xingyan's eyes. The complexity of the patterns on its surface made his first impression, upon glancing at it, one of denseness. Upon closer inspection, it even caused a slight dizzying sensation. At the same time, a harvest prompt appeared above the mutated plant in the star origin world. Seeing this, Shen Xingyan also withdrew his gaze from the round sphere and thought to himself, it only produced one fruit like this in 100 days. Plus that mystical feeling just now, this fruit is truly extraordinary. Shen Xingyan calmed himself down, then slowly reached out and picked it. Looking at the round sphere in his hand, Shen Xingyan hadn't even had time to check its attributes when the Star Origin World's harvest prompt appeared. Congratulations! You have planted 600 square meters of mutated crop this time, with a harvest yield of 2.46 kilograms, and gained 246,000 farmer profession experience points. Originally, Shen Xingyan was slightly displeased that the Xingyuan prompt interrupted his inspection of the round sphere's attributes. But upon seeing the string of 0 in this prompt, he immediately opened his mouth in surprise, looking at the message with a face full of shock. No way is this. Is this so exaggerated? Just harvesting a small round sphere gave me so many experience points. 240,000 experience points, that's enough for me to level up several times. Are elementary spirit rank crops really this terrifying? Shen Xingyan, too astonished to close his mouth, couldn't help but exclaim loudly. He then turned his gaze to the culprit in front of him and quickly checked the attributes of this round sphere. Item unknown can be named perfect plus value, 123 gold coins quantity, 1 attributes. Upon consumption, the user can increase their lifespan by 2.46 years. For undead users, it can increase soul origin by 2.46 star sharing is ineffective. Remarks. A fruit condensed from star origin power and life force with infinite efficacy. Looking at the description of the round fruit, a tempest raged in Shen Xingyan's heart, and his eyes widened even further. At this moment, his mind was filled with only the words longevity, with no other thoughts arising. It wasn't until the Xingyuan prompt sounded again that he broke free from this line of thought. Looking at the Xingyuan's message with a somewhat bewildered gaze, Ding Tilde detected that your mutated crop has been harvested. Please name this crop. Chapter 218. Although in this era, due to the outbreak of primordial energy and the improvement of the human race's physical attributes, the upper limit of human lifespan has also been greatly increased. From the fact that 100-year-old high-level professionals look almost identical to humans in their 60s before the primordial energy outbreak, it can be seen that lifespan has indeed increased. However, according to the records, the human lifespan will stagnate after reaching 150 years. And no matter how much your professional level increases, you will not be able to break through that limit. And this number is also called the human race's death line. Now with this fruit, capable of breaking through this death line, it's as if the sword hanging over one's head has moved away slightly. Even if it's just a little, it's enough to drive people mad. Phew, this is incredible. I actually grew a fruit that can increase lifespan. Doesn't this mean that as long as I have enough money, I can extract it into the real world to achieve the goal of increasing lifespan? If this continues, it's not impossible to achieve longevity in the future. Shen Xingyan, with this thought in his mind, took several deep breaths before finally calming his emotions a little. Then he carefully looked at the orb's attribute description again. Shaking his head with a sigh of wonder, more than 2 years of lifespan, this is a fatal temptation. For those high-level professionals in the real world whose lives are nearing their end. Its value cannot be merely 123 gold coins. Thousands, even tens of thousands, would be snatched up by those professionals. This price is probably Star Origin Mall's acquisition price. It would be a huge loss if I sold it. Shen Xingyan felt that Star Origin Mall was sometimes truly black-hearted. Usable by undead type to increase soul origin by 2.46 stars. When he saw the undead type mentioned in this attribute, he couldn't help but look at Wang Kai beside him, now understanding the reason for Wang Kai's previous behavior. Moreover, he also learned from this description that skeletons originally have soul origin, and its unit of measurement is star. Before, I always thought Wang Kai's ability to develop consciousness was a special case. But now I find that every skeleton has soul origin. It's just that Wang Kai happened to be stimulated by me. If this fruit were given to Wang Kai, he should become even smarter. Shen Xingyan's thoughts began to wander as he looked at the orb's attribute description. At this moment, the star origin prompt, which had been waiting for a long time. Seeing that Shen Xingyan had not responded for a while, prompted again. Ding tilde please name the current mutated crop. This prompt from Star Origin also brought Shen Xingyan's attention back to the notification. And he couldn't help but wonder. So, after a mutated crop completes its first harvest, the harvester can set its name. This is the first time I've encountered such a thing. Then he thought for a moment and then softly said, let's call it the longevity tree. It can produce fruits that increase lifespan, and it's a tree-shaped crop, so this name is perfectly fitting. Are you sure you want to name this mutated crop, longevity tree? Seeing this prompt, Shen Xingyan also nodded gently. As Shen Xingyan confirmed the name of the mutated crop, the mutated plant in front of him emitted a unique aura. And the entire plant glowed with an unusually gentle light, making one feel a heartfelt sense of intimacy. As the light dissipated, the plant named Longevity Tree displayed its attributes before Shen Xingyan's eyes. Crop. Longevity Tree Grade. Primary Spirit Tier +1 growable planting level. No level restriction growth period. 200 days planting range. 600 square meters planting conditions. Black soil attribute. A tree that can condense star origin power, automatically upgrading its grade after its growth period is complete. A grade above primary spirit tier is not intermediate spirit tier, but rather a +1 grade marker added to the end. And this round's growth period has increased to 200 days. Is the grading of spirit tier crops stricter? Shen Xingyan couldn't help but ponder as he looked at the longevity tree's attributes. Because in the current real world, only a few old seniors can plant spirit tier seeds. The information that has been leaked is very scarce, and he is just a low-level individual living at the grassroots, so he would not understand the specific details. After remembering this information, Shen Xingyan turned his gaze to the orb in his hand. At this moment, with the naming of the longevity tree, the orb's name naturally changed from its previous unknown, nameable state to longevity fruit. Looking at the longevity fruit in his hand, Shen Xingyan marveled at its magic. Yet for a moment, he found it difficult to decide how to treat such a precious item. If he sold it to Star Origin Mall or found a professional merchant to sell it at a high price, it would indeed be too regrettable. After all, it was a life-saving fruit that could extend lifespan. As the old saying goes, an inch of time is worth an inch of gold. This isn't just an inch of time, but over 2 years of time. With these 2+ years, he might be able to accomplish something grand in the future. Selling it now would truly be too unworthy. As for extracting it into the real world, he currently didn't have the financial means. After all, to extract it into the real world would require at least over 1,000 gold coins. At his current pace of accumulating 10 gold coins to extract primordial energy attributes, it would probably take a considerable amount of time to save up that much money. Moreover, he was still young now and didn't need to use the longevity fruit yet. It seems I can only store it away for now and decide later. Maybe in the future, I won't care about this bit of lifespan or money, and I'll just give this longevity fruit directly to Wang Kai. Finally making a decision, Shen Xingyan put the longevity fruit into his backpack space and used the space lock function to secure it, preventing him from accidentally selling it when he sold crops later. Then he smiled and looked at Wang Kai beside him, gently patting him, and then muttered to himself, "Wang Kai, you really need to bring me good fortune. After all, to some extent, bringing me good fortune is also bringing good fortune to yourself." Meanwhile, Wang Kai, seeing his master put away that extremely tempting item, also returned to his normal state. He didn't quite understand his master's words, and he tilted his skull head in confusion, looking at his master. Shen Xingyan burst into laughter and didn't offer any further explanation. He then opened his attribute panel, ready to experience the thrill of consecutive job level-ups, just as a star origin prompt appeared before his eyes. Chapter 219. Congratulations, you have broken the current record of 0 yield per longevity tree, successfully reaching a yield of 2.46 kilograms. You are specially rewarded with 100 free attribute points, 100 gold coins, and a talent skill growth stone. Star Origin will make a full Star Origin announcement. Do you wish to make the information public? Shen Xingyan, who was about to open his attribute panel, froze for a moment when he saw this prompt, as if he had been subjected to a body immobilization spell. The series of rewards in the prompt not only astonished him, but also left him a bit dizzy, as it was his first time experiencing 3 types of rewards at once. Once he had somewhat recovered, his emotions instantly became excited. The emotions he had just managed to calm down due to the longevity fruit and experience points now surged back, intensifying with each passing moment. This time, the reward actually includes 100 free attribute points. Star Origin World is too generous this time. That's a full 100 free attribute points, equivalent to gaining 4 levels of attribute rewards at the current stage out of thin air. You know, the total equilibrium force he has cultivated in the real world so far is only 40 points, not even that many attributes, and this reward completely surpasses that. Moreover, this reward also includes a full 100 gold coins. This can be said to be the first time Star Origin World has ever given him a monetary reward. So many gold coins are enough for him to extract 10 primordial energy points to the real world. Most importantly, this reward actually included another talent stone. His talent skill, which had just been upgraded, can be improved again. This wave truly brought in a huge profit. When Shen Xingyan saw these rewards, a surge of ecstasy immediately filled his heart. His eyes stared at the prompt in front of him, repeatedly rereading it. And the corners of his mouth remained spread in a wide grin, as if only this way could he express the joy in his heart. After this excitement lasted for quite a while, Shen Xingyan finally managed to control himself a bit. Then, looking at the record of 0 yield in the prompt, he suddenly realized something. The prompt states that the longevity tree's yield record in Star Origin World is 0. Coupled with being asked to name the mutated crop just now, it seems that the previous mutated seed was a unique existence. And no one had ever successfully cultivated it, which is why this prompt appeared. But thinking about it, it makes sense. The basic requirement for planting a longevity tree is black soil. If I hadn't coincidentally received the black soil as a reward, it would probably be impossible to successfully plant it. From this perspective, I am still very lucky. All that luck value is also playing a role in some invisible ways. Shen Xingyan thought with considerable emotion, becoming even more focused on luck value. After he roughly understood the reason for this reward, he also gained a hidden message from this prompt. That is, this longevity tree, within Star Origin World's rules, also includes an aspect of breaking records. In other words, if future harvests of longevity fruit are higher than this yield, there will be record-breaking rewards just like with ordinary crops. Such news made Shen Xingyan overjoyed. As long as the longevity tree can break records in the future, it won't be a difficult thing for me. And as a spirit tier crop, the richness of its rewards after breaking a record will definitely far exceed ordinary crops, which can be glimpsed from this reward. While Shen Xingyan was immersed in this state of excitement, the long-awaited star origin prompt couldn't help but reappear. Do you wish to make the information public? If the star origin prompt had an expression at this moment, it would definitely be rolling its eyes furiously at Shen Xingyan. After all, he had visited Shen Xingyan's place far too frequently. He had already been here twice today alone. Moreover, most importantly, the reward he gave Shen Xingyan this time actually included 100 gold coins, which was unacceptable to Star Origin World, being a miser. At this moment, seeing Shen Xingyan still dawdling, his mood was probably not very good. The appearance of this prompt also made Shen Xingyan temporarily put aside his thoughts. He skillfully took out 100 silver coins and sent a request to the prompt to cancel the announcement. He was extremely eager for these rewards that were about to be in his hands. However, this time the silver coins in his hand did not disappear immediately as before. Instead, they remained motionless, causing Shen Xingyan, who had made the gesture, to feel a surge of awkwardness. And then Star Origin World's prompt gave him a response. Unfortunately, the first appearance record announcement for a new Star Origin crop cannot be cancelled. Do you wish to make the information public? The appearance of the prompt made Shen Xingyan understand the reason, but he also couldn't help but frown, thinking with some hesitation, there's actually such a setting. That makes things a bit difficult. If it's announced, peasant professional will definitely attract another wave of attention. This isn't a good thing for me. However, there is one point that benefits me. The longevity tree's grade is a spirit tier crop. As a small farmer who only awakened a little over a month ago, no matter how wild the imaginations of people in the real world are, they won't link this matter to me. The most affected by this will probably only be those old senior who can cultivate spirit tier crops. Thinking about it this way, letting this announcement go out is acceptable. It's just a bit unfair to those old senior in the farmer profession. Once this announcement is released, who knows how much they'll be targeted. Shen Xingyan sighed slightly, but he couldn't dwell on these things. He chose not to make the information public in response to the Star Origin prompt. Then, the prompt in front of him instantly disappeared, and an announcement began to echo throughout Star Origin World. A certain professional has successfully cultivated a new spirit tier crop, the longevity tree, and has created a new record, successfully reaching a yield of 2.46 kilograms, specially rewarded with 50 free attribute points, 100 gold coins, and a talent skill growth stone. A full Star Origin announcement is now being made. This prompt echoed continuously 5 times throughout Star Origin World before finally stopping, causing Shen Xingyan to apologize profusely in his heart to those old senior. This kind of "I didn't kill Bo Ren, but Bo Ren died because of me" situation, if something truly happened, would ultimately be a karmic consequence. And after this prompt stopped, the entire Star Origin World seemed to fall into a brief silence. Chapter 220. Which old farmer got so lucky? He actually discovered a new spirit rank crop, and Star Origin World gave him so many rewards. It's truly enviable. Why didn't such a good thing happen to me? Which base's old senior caused this commotion? Is it possible it's from our base? No, I have to go ask them. If it's them, then the talent stone given to them would be a waste. Longevity tree? What a grand claim. Which old farmer who wants eternal life cultivated this? Thinking that discovering a new crop can grant eternal life, what a joke. But it's better to believe it than not. Since this crop is called longevity tree, maybe it really has something to do with eternal life. No, I need to find out who it is. It seems it's time to pay a visit to those old fellows. The appearance of the Star Origin World announcement caused all advanced peasant professional in Blue Appreciation's bases to focus their attention on the old acquaintances within their bases. Not only that, but the high-level personnel of those bases immediately returned to the real world and visited the old seniors of the farmer profession. Some people, after receiving this news, directly searched in the Star Origin Mall, wanting to see what kind of spirit rank crop this longevity tree was, that it dared to take such a thought-provoking name. However, their final result was emptiness. There was nothing. They weren't confused by this, after all. The Star Origin Mall was just a mall and not omnipotent. It only contained some basic and intermediate level items, but for those advanced items, they would only appear here if someone was selling them. And these items were almost all very sought after. They would be bought up soon after being put on the shelves. But there was an exception, and that was the advanced item, Bod High Leaf, which was never out of stock in the Star Origin Mall. As if no one could buy all of it, its reserves were quite astonishing. Given this quantity, its probability was also very low. Many people bought 3 Bod High Leaves at great expense, only to find that not only did they not awaken any skill, but the improvement in their comprehension ability was also negligible. The probability of someone like Shen Xingyan gaining a comprehension skill with just 1 leaf was equivalent to picking 1 person out of hundreds of millions, much lower than the probability of winning the lottery. However, they also sensed the extraordinary nature of this crop from this information. If it were just an ordinary spirit rank crop that hadn't been discovered, the Star Origin Mall would directly display longevity tree seeds. But now there wasn't, which explained one fact. The rarity of this crop was extremely high. They then joined the ranks of searching for the culprit. Leaving aside the crop itself, just that talent stone gave them the motivation to try. What if they could successfully buy it, or if the person just happened to want to part with it? Wouldn't that be killing 2 birds with 1 stone? While the upper-level professional in all bases were frantically suspecting those around them, Shen Xingyan, filled with apology, also received these 3 rewards. After seeing the rewards, Shen Xingyan temporarily cast aside his apologetic thoughts, and with a thought, he directly opened his attribute panel, his gaze falling on the 3-digit free attribute points. At this moment, the free attribute column clearly displayed 100 points, making Shen Xingyan feel incredibly comfortable. Upon seeing it, I didn't expect that my free attribute points would be the first to break 100. This is truly unexpected. After a slight hesitation, he prepared to add all of them to primordial energy. Although the primordial energy attribute was becoming less useful in the current profession space, and its quantity was already severely excessive for the current farmland. However, Shen Xingyan's purpose for single-mindedly adding primordial energy was not just for use in Star Origin world, but to extract it into the real world. After all, his current skills basically relied on the increase of primordial energy to enhance their power. Teleportation, clone technique, and insight, these 3 major consumers of primordial energy, were his main targets. Having made a big decision, Shen Xingyan completed the allocation of 100 free attribute points. Immediately, a massive amount of primordial energy appeared within his body, and that sense of fullness made even his conscious self feel incredibly comfortable. At the same time, his primordial energy attribute column also reached 194/194. With such a high primordial energy attribute, if all of it is extracted into the real world, my teleportation skill can move nearly 20 kilometers instantly. At that time, even those domain-level disasters known for their speed and perception will be utterly helpless against me. And clone technique can generate clones with full attributes of 97 points. Their attributes are already equivalent to a level 40 professional, and they can cause considerable damage to those extraterritorial world disasters. Not to mention the insight skill, there's a full 97 points of comprehension ability improvement. Just thinking about that 1 hour of comprehension ability makes me feel incredibly terrified. Counting my innate comprehension ability value. Using a comprehension ability value exceeding 100 to comprehend the power of balance, if power of balance has no bottleneck. Then the rate of improvement will definitely be epic level. Looking at such a large amount of primordial energy attributes, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but excitedly fantasize for a while. Then quickly pulled his thoughts back, not daring to think any further. If he thought any more, he was afraid he would get carried away. Historical experience told him that the result of getting carried away often led to accidents, and he didn't want any accidents to happen. He just wanted to continue getting stronger step by step, until the day all disasters were annihilated. Shen Xingyan, having collected his thoughts, looked at the 100 gold coins from the reward. After just a brief appreciation, he thought, and extracted 10 points of primordial energy limit to the real world, spending the gold coins that hadn't even warmed up yet. And he didn't feel the slightest bit of heartache about this. In his mind, there was a deeply ingrained idea that money only counted as money when it was spent on oneself. Otherwise, it was just a number. After feeling the regained 10 points of primordial energy, Shen Xingyan, satisfied, put away his attribute panel and opened his backpack space, looking at the cute stone from this reward. With a thought, the talent stone appeared in his hand. Looking at the talent stone in his hand, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but let out a soft huh and muttered to himself, "Huh. Why does this talent stone feel a bit smaller than the previous one? Could it be that Star Origin World thought there were too many rewards this time and cut corners for me?" As Shen Xingyan thought this, he mentally checked the attributes of the small stone in front of him. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this audiobook, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more updates and new uploads.